No, I believe we're live. Was what last year, Mike? She had 6 puppies in March. Not long, that's March this year, not long after Maya's birthday. So hello and welcome everybody. Hopefully I am live. If you can hear me, let me know. Apparently I am. Yay! Right, I'm going to go back to the top of the chat because the chat disappeared. You know you're going to have one of those nights. When? Right, hello Kim. Oh, Kim was first. Excellent. Hello Neil. Hello Pete. Dark Leeds. Never mind dark. Is it quiet? We want it quiet is what we need. Right, where are we going? Hello Graham. Missed you last week. Trust you're all caught up on the epic show that was 1 second short of 4 hours. Never mind this 12-hour epic. Now, you might not be a Liverpool fan, Neil, but we know that Carl is. Carl from Blackpool's a Liverpool fan. Crying into his beer at the moment. Oh dear, oh dear. Ordering shopping. Oh, bless. They couldn't do it. Good job they got you, Johnny.
Just gone on there. It's just opened out. Look.
Mike's machine's possessed. This is a good start to the night. My mum was like that, and she must have been about 78 when we ordered her first online shop. And it was, I'm not shopping online. You'll never know what rubbish you get. And she went on and on and on. But Mike and I had already placed the order for us. So the man turns up with the order. Oh, that was it. She was smitten. Not with the guy, just the fact that shopping came in and he put it all away. We couldn't stop her placing orders after that. She loved it. She didn't do it. We did it for her. So, yeah. Okay, I'm trying to make sure I don't miss anybody. Hello, Renee. Good to have you with us. I hope I've pronounced that right. How are we doing? Hello, Deb. Hello, Stephen. Home in time to see the start. Excellent. Looking forward to PDF forms. That's a bit of a black art. That proved more tricky than it needed to be, but we've cracked it. It wasn't last year, Mike. It was March she had puppies. 6 puppies she had. In fact, she had 7, but one unfortunately died.
Yeah, it's March last year.
It wasn't. Oh, God, you're right.
We're in March this year.
I'm totally lost. I thought it was 2019.
There'll be 1.
Yeah, her babies will be 1. I think she reached a point where she was glad to see the back of them, to be honest. I mean, 6 puppies was a little bit too much. We went round to visit. We've actually got some pictures of that. I'll find them and dig them out. And we went round, I think the puppies were about a week old, maybe 10 days old. And we walked in the door and Lola just jumped out the pen straight to us. She's like, I've had enough of these, but don't know where these came from. But apparently I need to look after them. Okay, right. The funny cheese slices. You can't beat cheese slices. I'm glad they had everything. Our experience was slightly different, but we'll come on to that. Yeah, don't mention Asda to Mike last night. If you're not a MacBites listener, if you're an After Hours viewer, you will maybe not have heard of Shopping with Elaine. I loathe shopping, and Shopping with Elaine is my adventures shopping, and it never ends well. I think the time that sticks in my mind was the time I was in Tesco's for about 3 hours trying to get £1 out of a trolley. Don't ask. It was a long story, but it was very funny. Oh, good. Pronounced correctly. Excellent. But last night, it was Mike's turn. I looked after Lola in the car. Seems like I got the best of that deal. Right, so let's make sure that you can see my screen. I have already made sure my webcam's working.
Pete saying he can't get the video.
Why can't Pete get the video?
You can get the chat, but not the video.
Oh, that's not good.
Oh, he's in.
Right, you should be seeing my desktop. My desktop you should be seeing. If you are seeing my desktop, that's good. Let's move into the presentation and see what mood it's in tonight. We've had various things happening over the last few weeks, but hey, we've all got gate fever because we're all locked in, aren't we? So at least I'm better than looking at the wallpaper. Or so I'm told. So hello and welcome. We're up to 67, can you believe it? Amazing. A hugely busy night. Look at that lot. Look at that lot. We've got a couple of updates after the week at MacBites headquarters, which is always obviously infinitely fascinating. A couple of updates about things we've talked about in the past. Then we're going to look at a new app called Tot. I know, strange name. Then we've got this faking a data merge, which was requested. Well, actually, it was It can't do it, can it? Is there a way I can cheat? And I had to think. So thank you to Johnny I for that. If you hadn't made me think, I wouldn't have come up with this workaround, which is rather devious. We've slipped an extra bit in called working remotely, because Mike and I have worked remotely, me more than him, but we've both worked remotely for years and years. For me, this is no different at all, but other people are being driven slowly around the bend. Apparently, they have got gate fever and need to get out. Me, I hyperventilate at the thought of leaving the house. But we thought we'd share our collective wisdom and a few things to keep you entertained if you are working remotely. Then we've got a new note-taking Nirvana. You know that happens every 5 minutes, don't you? But maybe you'll like this one. I haven't even created the demo account yet. There is a reason, but never mind. Then we've got some freebies. Then Mike's got some fascinating data. My suggestion. I thought I actually needed to know. So I said to him, well, could you maybe do a chart of it? And he's done some amazing charts tonight to share with you. Then in the week, I blew his little socks off. We had a job to do, real world job. And Mike said, it'll take hours. And I said, just give me two minutes. 30 seconds later, job was done. And he was like, wow. So he said, you've got to share that on Saturday night. So I will. Then we've got creating PDF forms. Again, another request. And we had lots of different ways we were contemplating it. But the good news is, brace yourselves, we've found a free way to do it. Neil, if we go to 5 hours, we'll upset YouTube. You know what'll happen? It'll all go out of sync. And then we've got an unboxing, and it's a special little unboxing. Can't reveal any more until the unboxing. By which time, of course, Johnny will be asleep. But Johnny, you do need to stay awake for the working remotely bit, at least. At least that bit. Right. You need to watch in HD, obviously, or we'll all be fuzzy. So make sure in the lower right-hand corner of your video screen, you have the red flash, which means you're watching in HD. While you're down there, I mean, obviously not yet, unless you're really enjoying it. But while you're down there, as you're watching, if you enjoy it, give us a thumbs up. We would really appreciate that. So what have we been up to this week? Well, Sunday. You know we say it's never dull here at MacBites headquarters. Sunday proved the point in spades. I'm not making this up, honestly. It's not often you awake to this sight. Or at least I hope it's not often. But we did. That was the alarmingly early o'clock, less than a mile up the road on Sunday morning. Yes, that is indeed the bomb squad. I'm not making it up. Look, there's the paper. I'm not. Now, Neil will know exactly where Stockport Road in Timperley is. It's literally about half a mile up the road to a mile, no more than that. And what was going on? There'd been a robbery, or an attempted robbery, and they'd used explosives to try and, in the words of that film, blow the bloody doors off. This time it was a cash point. So there was said bomb disposal unit, little robot, sent in to defuse what they'd put behind there. You could not make this up. Seriously. So that was how we awoke on Sunday. It was like, I'm glad we decided not to go out. So am I. But then later on, Lola decided she needed to go out and investigate. But luckily, not up that way. They took the prudent approach and went the other way. And she met up with her sister, her adorable sister. On the way back, she spotted an opportunity. Lola was on a mission. She felt it was her duty to rescue a kennel full of dogs. Luckily, she didn't get any nearer up that path than that. And then, oh, it was a good day for Mike. Oh, Sunday was a very good day. Happy, happy bunny. And that could well be the last match of the season, so it was good to finish on a win. That's the third time United had beat City this season, so of course Mike was incredibly happy. So, unbelievably, used to shop in the Co-op in Timperley. Neil, not a good idea now. Absolutely crazy stuff. I said to Mike, I've just read. He went, I've seen it. Seriously? Unbelievable. But we went into Monday and disaster struck for me. A while back, we did a show. We did a show called Snowflakes and Boxcar Willie. This was MacBites 110. And the Boxcar Willie part of it was an app on iOS called Boxcar. And it was a lovely little app. What it did was you told it which mails you would like notifications about. because I do not want notifications for all my mails. But if Mike sends me a mail, I want to know about it straight away. And there are 2 other addresses that I want to know about mail from. And I used Boxcar to do it. And in that episode, Boxcar Willie, Snowflakes and Boxcar Willie, we were saying it had died, that you could no longer download it or use it. But the thing was, it was still working for me. Well, Monday, the end came. Look, it died. I was bereft. There was literally at that point no way that I could get selective notifications for my email. But, just like I said in the intro, when Johnny said in the chat, in Slack, is there a way to do it? I know it can't do it, but is there a way? Once I was presented with said blank screen, it was like, okay, I'm going to need to find a way. And guess what? I found a way. Completely free. If you want to know what that way is, let me know in the chat and I'll cover it in a future show. But that took us to Tuesday. Better news on Tuesday. Who edits audio? Incoming new toys. I'm not sure I'd switch from Hindi. I find that highly unlikely. I use an app called Hindenburg to edit audio. It's not for music. It's for the spoken word. But this is a new toy, a digital audio workspace application, coming in from Behringer. Now, we have a couple of Behringer microphones. So that was actually quite interesting news that I discovered on Tuesday. So something to look forward to. They're talking about it there being competition for Audacity, which is free. So this one's going to be free. Let's wait and see what we get. That was then Wednesday. Wednesday, Mike's probably forgotten this. He's probably expunged it from his memory. But Wednesday was the day of the Great Hunt. You're wondering what, aren't you? You're thinking, was it a gold bar? Oh no, it was much more precious than a gold bar. We needed a bottle of water. You can tell where this is going, can't you? We are now more than comfortably intimate with every local Tesco. And in manoeuvres the army would have been proud of, 17 Tesco's later, we had supplies. All 5 bottles. So we've got 5 2-litre bottles of waters to last us for the duration. But hey, at least we got 5 bottles. Mike was not pleased. He's now appreciating my approach when it comes to shopping. Don't bother, have them deliver it. But nowhere is letting you have more than 5 bottles of water, and most of them had no water at all. So that was Wednesday. I hope your hunt for supplies is going better than ours did. But Thursday, I'm going to be a little bit self-indulgent here. Thursday was a special day for us. It's a day that we always like to take a little bit of time and remember. Our beautiful boy Maya was born on the 12th of March 2001. So Thursday would have been his 19th birthday. Unfortunately, we lost him in 2014, but look at that face. That was the day he arrived. Amazing. His little face. Now, there's a funny story with that one. That's Straw, his toy. Strawberry, the toy. And he was no bigger than that. At that point, he was about 12 weeks old. And you see the eyes on the strawberry? He ate one. 2 days we were watching emissions, shall we say, to recover it. Poo Patrol, as Mike says. It's so cute. Look at his little face. But I've got to say, he was sometimes in mischief. That was his first attempt at jousting. That's actually a fisherman's stool. And he was jousting with it. Seriously jousting with it. And when I say he used to get into a little bit of trouble, that was my father's paper. Didn't get much of it read that night. Seems to be looking for a job though, doesn't he? And what's he chewing? That's his grooming brush. So I think at that point, he was probably about 9 weeks old. It was a little bit tiring looking after him, as Mike will prove. When he finally pegged, so did Mike. Look at his face. Anyway, we shared the joy of being Maya's birthday with Lola. She was less than impressed. His baby sister was fascinated by it all, not. But she was guarding her box of Dentasticks. Way to go, Lola. Which took us on to Friday. Now, Friday, or as we're calling it, Crazy Friday. This was us at the end of Crazy Friday. We had to take the decision to cancel all the remaining social events in our year of looking after the Catenian social calendar. And you'd think that would be simple. Oh no. It took all day and a million emails, text, WhatsApp messages, phone calls, and pigeon launches to get the message out to everybody. We felt we'd been dragged through a hedge backwards. In the midst of all that, we did manage to get the emails out to let you know about the show tonight, which at least brought a smile to Johnny's face. Hey! He was rather happy with what we were going to do, which is good news. Then we heard from Tim Cook that all the Apple stores are shutting. Which not forever, luckily, but long enough to upset Pete. Hey, Pete? The minute I saw that, I thought, the 27th? But Pete's computer's coming on the 26th. You can't do that. But good news from Pete. Let everybody know in the chat, Pete. It's all sorted now, apparently, thankfully. So there was a huge statement on Apple's site. Basically, they're going to save the world, so let's just leave them to it and let them get on with it. Which took us to today. And today's been chaotic. It was after a hectic week. We spent today running at double speed, catching up to be ready for tonight. And here we are right now. Now, just to keep Johnny awake, you know we mentioned a few weeks back, big secret, big reveal. Tonight's the night. You're going to need to stay awake, Johnny. More coffee. So very, very, very strong coffee for Isaacs, I think. Right, let's get on with it then. One of the things that we've talked about previously is Wunderlist, or Wunderlist, as I believe it's pronounced. And I got a mail this week to say it's going away. Now, we already knew this. Microsoft bought it, took the technology out of it and put it into Microsoft To Do. But they are now actually closing down the original server. So even if you've got an older version of it, you are not going to be able to use it after that date. Pete's saying upset's not the word. I'm not surprised. Seriously, the world's just gone crazy in the last few years. And I remember when we ordered our iMacs, or the ones we're using right now, we did it 2 minutes after the doors closed on the election. You're wondering which one? Yes, so am I. It was the 2017 election where Theresa May was elected, but only just. And it came in, I think, was it a hung parliament or something? And we thought, oh, good grief, the prices will skyrocket. So we ordered 2 iMacs and £1,500 worth of RAM. It was an expensive night, that was. So I completely feel your pain. Imagine my pain when my iMac arrived a day early, but Mike's didn't. I left my iMac in the box until his arrived. Greater love hath no woman, I say. So really, just to be aware, it's going away. There is Microsoft To Do, which is supposedly its replacement. It is a very, very good app, Microsoft To Do. But if you are an aficionado of Wunderlist, and you could be worried about its end. We did discuss Microsoft To Do, so if you are in the process of needing to get up to speed with it, we first talked about it in a June episode, 28. I can't remember if I put the links in, Mike. It's been that kind of week. I may have done, on the other hand, I may not. Let's see if I did or not. But you can find it on the playlist in YouTube. So they're all unlisted, but there's an after hours playlist, and they're all in there in the right order. So 28 was the first one, and we then talked about the 2.0 update in episode 42, which was September. Right, big one for me next, signatures in Gmail. Ooh, excitement. I know you're thinking, what are you getting giddy for? Well, there are going to be multiple signatures incoming in Gmail. At the moment, if you want multiple signatures, you want to choose between which signature you use, you have to do it in another client. But native multiple signatures are going to be with us from the 24th of March, which is fabulous news, because a lot of the time I either use the web interface or I use an application called MailPlane. But all MailPlane is a wrapper around the website. So basically I have this app. It's got a few extra features like sending things to OmniFocus and stuff. But basically it's a wrapper around the website. So I have 3 tabs open. I have my mail, my calendar and my contacts all the time in MailPlane. So this is one, it's going to be big for me. That is going to be big for me. Looking forward to that. Now I promised we'd look at a new application, and this is it. It's called Tot. Now, it's called Tot because it's tiny, a tiny text window. Who's heard of Tot? Who's seen Tot? who has tried Tot. It's does one thing, it does it rather well. It allows you to collect random pieces of text and edit them. So it's a very tiny window like that. You make it as big as you like, but you cannot have more than 7 notes. I know you're thinking, 7? Why? Because it's intended to replace like sticky notes, basically. And the object of the exercise is that you just... I don't put all of them in yet. That you use 7 spaces and then clear one to reuse it. That's the idea. So I have downloaded this and installed it to show you. Let's go and have a look. Yet again, my 3 and H isn't working, but never mind. So let's go into Tot. And it's opened up on the wrong screen, but there we go. There's Tot. So this is what it looks like as soon as you go into it. All right. Before you get excited, Johnny, hang on. Right, this is Tiny Tot. I had a doll called Tiny Tot. I shouldn't admit I had a doll, should I? It wasn't my idea, it was my mother's. I never really followed that through. Right, so you get a note, and the first note is yellow, and that's what you've got in this dot at the top. Exactly, Neil. That's the problem. Hang on. The next one is orange. So the background's orange, and then as you push it, the little dot changes to be a filled-in dot. That one's red or a very pale pink, and there's your text in it. Now, the other 4 are blank at the moment. They don't have a colour on them. But as soon as you go to them, there's the purple one, and you put some text into it, it fills in the colour at the top. And then as you go back, you see you get the lit up circle. So if we went through all of this and put some test text in, right, in each one, you'd see they'd all light up. So there isn't really much to demonstrate, is there? All we've got is 7 notes. Dear me, text, right? All we've got 7 notes to play around with. But the fact that the colour at the top and the colour of the background match, you kind of think, oh yeah, I put it in the blue one. And you know exactly where the text is. But as I say, you are limited to 7 notes. But that's intentional. It's completely intentional. There's very few options. So you've got a dock icon. You can start it at the login. You can match the system, use coloured backgrounds, record a shortcut to show the window, which may indeed be a good idea. Now, this is created by Icon Factory. If you're thinking I know that name, they make a Twitter client called Twitterific. They've also done icon applications over the years. It is a beautiful minimalist app. It supports rich text and it supports Markdown. So it's fantastic on the Mac. It's completely free and it does one job and it does it well, like I've said. Now, obviously, there's going to be a blue bottle landing in the ointment anytime soon. So let me share with you what that blue bottle in the ointment is. Right, let's go over here, get that up again. There is a version for iOS and it synchronises with it, which would be brilliant. It would synchronise tiny notes, all 7 of them, from your desktop to your iOS devices. And the problem is, look at the price of it. I nearly fell over. It is a one-time purchase, but £20, 7 notes. Ooh, dear me. I could probably get, in fact, if someone could tell me the price of this, I'd be obliged, Mike. What does it cost for drafts for a year? I think that's $17, something like that. And drafts let you have unlimited notes on your Mac, on your iOS devices. You've got actions in there. If I had to choose one or the other, there's no way that Tot would win. Put it like that. But if you've got £20, dollars, or whatever lying around,
$19.99.
Okay, so it's exactly the same. Fair enough. I think it's a niche product, and people who've tried it are like, oh, I love it, but £20. I mean, if it was $2.99, it would be a no-brainer. Even if they wanted to charge for the Mac version, and take it up to sort of £7 for the 2 or something like that. But I'm really thinking with that, you have got to be joking. I did read one article that mentioned this, and I think it was the pre-release. And instead of 20, you might want to sit down at this point, people, it was 40. The iOS version was 40. So it's already halved. I can see that coming down in price. My advice would be, Drafts is far more powerful, but there's nothing to stop you using it just on your Mac. It's completely free just on your Mac. Okay, we have got some questions. Now, Jonathan, you were saying you love it already. Yes, it is pretty, but if you want it synchronizing with your iOS device, maybe not. Right, why not Apple Notes? No reason why not Apple Notes. I think what they're trying to do with this is fill a tiny niche. And Apple Notes is fast becoming more an Evernote clone than it is a very simple note thing. I can only assume that that's their logic. I do have, I actually said to Mike tonight, I need a packet of Post-it notes. I turn to a packet of Post-it notes when I've got 20 things to do and 5 minutes to do them. And I just scribble it all down, line them all up, put them in an order, go through them, throw them in the bin. And it works for me. Obviously, for something like that, as long as I didn't have more than 7 things to do, I could have done it in an app like that. But then that would only need the Mac version. It's the synchronizing thing. I agree with Neil. It needs Sherlocking. If you don't know what Sherlocking is, there was an app called Sherlock for the Mac, and Apple built Spotlight. And Sherlock obviously died instantly. There was no need for it. So to Sherlock an app, the verb to Sherlock means Apple to create something that with exactly the same features but better for free. That's what Sherlocking means. Apple did have the Notes app, the Post-it Notes app many years ago, but they didn't seem to develop their small applets in a way. With the way they're going with Apple Notes, Renee's quite right. There's no reason it couldn't be, you couldn't use that instead. And they are expanding that into pencil support and all kinds of areas. This is intended to be incredibly narrow focused. But like I said, $2.99, $1.99, $2.99, maybe 20. No. So I can't demonstrate the iOS version because there's no way I'm parting with 20 quid for that. So we'll leave that one there. But we're going into the first big demo of the night, which is faking a data merge in Affinity Publisher. And it is indeed faking it because it cannot do it. I think they will add it in the future. Adobe Illustrator can do it. InDesign can do it. So I think it's something that will be on their roadmap, but it would make sense, having seen the 1.8 updates, that they kept something as big as this back for the 2.0 update. That would be I think they would leave that. So I found a way to fake it. It needs a couple of other apps, but you can get all of the other apps, apart from Affinity Publisher, for free, that you're going to need. These are the apps you're going to need. You're going to need Excel or a spreadsheet of some description, Word or a word processor of some description. Now, I've put Acrobat lower down because you do not need Acrobat. But what you will do is create a PDF, and that will act as a conduit between Word and Publisher. It will make more sense when I demonstrate it. Oh, Graham's got an app there. 5 Notes from the App Store, Mac only. Runs on the menu bar and can stay on top. Liking that. If you're a Drafts user, we haven't demonstrated Drafts, but if you are a Drafts user, you may not be aware that if you use, there's a shortcut. Now I've set mine up so it doesn't clash with anything else. But there's 2 shortcuts that you can create. You can create a shortcut to bring Drafts to the top of your workspace. And you can also use a different shortcut to use a quick entry window. And the quick entry window stays on top. So that's why I wouldn't really have a need for that kind of app. But it sounds very similar to what 5 Notes does. There's obviously a market for this kind of thing, isn't there? Limited notes, etc. You could always go and have a look at that, Graham, if you're only using it on your Mac. Right, what was I talking about? Oh, yes, faking it. That's what I was talking about. So let me get that right out of the way. Why on earth is that running? Let's lose that. And I've got some files here. So I'm going to start off by showing you some data, which I have in Excel. Now, if I've missed your name out, please forgive me. This was a rush job. I'd done a test and I was using Boris and all kinds of people. So I threw in some names. Please excuse me if you're not on the list. Just random names. But all I've done in a spreadsheet is use one column, put a label at the top that says name, and then put names in it. Simple as. Now, even if you were using a data merge, a real one in Affinity Publisher, you'd still need to do this step. And there is nothing difficult about it at all. You just need to throw the names in, which is what I've done. So we have a file that happens to be an Excel file, which has got those names in it. As I said, you could use LibreOffice. You could use, what's the other one that's free, Mike? OpenOffice. OpenOffice. It wouldn't matter. I've just used this because I've got this. Could you use numbers? Well, thereby hangs the tale, because they've ripped the mail merge out of that, so I wouldn't if I were you. But there's my list of data. So I'm going to close that down. Right, the next thing to do, so I've got my list of data. The next thing to do is actually to go into Publisher. You might think that sounds odd. Why are you not going into Word? But all will be revealed. I'm going to go into Publisher because I need to design in Publisher what I want for, in this case, it was an invitation. Johnny had a dinner party. Looked fabulous. So it was an invitation. So let me go and open that, which should be in here somewhere. Business invitation A4. Yes, it was that one. Oh, don't start. Come on, let's go find them. Let's go. I've already done this a million times, and I told it to embed it. Look, it's linked. Right, let's replace it. I know exactly where it is. So let's go over here and replace it. It is that one down there. That's what I want. And embed it. Like I said last time, and you totally ignored me. That. Okay. So all I've done here, I could have done this from scratch. I went to File New, and I chose A4, and I made it landscape. I did say prefer embedded, but it totally ignored me. And I took off the master pages. That was all I did. And then created it like that. So it's blank. This one, however, isn't blank. It just looks blank. Right. What I've done is to keep this demo fairly short. You know my demos. To keep this one fairly short, it's not about designing whatever you want at the publisher end at all. So I'm not going to take you through how I actually design the design. But the reason I didn't have it open up and show you the design is, you know, I said about keeping awake top secret. And then somebody said at the very beginning about doing a 12-hour MacBites to keep you all entertained this week while you're under house arrest. Yeah, that. So in the master pages, I do have a master page. That's exactly what we're doing this week. Oh, aren't you lucky? We're going to have a live radio show every night, 7 o'clock UK time, marooned at MacBites headquarters, which indeed we are. And we hope that you're going to be able to join us for at least part of those shows. So I have a master with that on it. What I would need to do for page 1 is to apply the master to it just by dragging and dropping. So all this is in here, there's nothing special about this. It's just the usual chunks and stuff. Here we go. So all the individual pieces that I created to make that. That's all we need. So it's all in there ready to go. Right. Johnny's happy. Right. So we have that. Now, obviously, somewhere in here, I need to do some kind of mail merge. So what I actually want to do... Poor Pete. Pete's behind. Yeah, but you can listen to this one, Pete. You could have... You don't need to actually view it. This is audio. So you could put a little AirPod in and no one would notice the difference. Right, so what I'm going to do here is I've just created one... Let's fold up the master. I've got one page. Now, what I actually want to do is down here where it says, we hope you're able to join us. What I want to put in there is somebody's name, like Johnny I. Good grief, woman. Right, now, obviously, I would then need to make that the right size, so it matched the other text over here, and it was the right colour. So we would attempt to make it the right colour as well, which would be the marooned orange. Right, so that's what we need, but we need it for everybody. And that was the situation. How do we fake that? Okay, this is how you do it. You forget that totally. Just lose that. You just make sure at the publisher end that you've got space to put the name or any other merged data that you need. So for me, it's this area down the bottom. It's that area there. And that's all you need to do. Just forget it at that point. Then the trick is to make this work. You need to export that. So down to export, and I exported it as a PNG. It doesn't really matter. You could export it as whatever you like, basically, because we're going to potentially throw it away. So I left the size alone. I left everything alone. I could make the size smaller because those pixels that it's talking about there, I mean, that is fairly hefty in terms of pixels. I could make it much smaller than that. It's 300 dpi this because I picked for print. But I'll leave it as it is. It'll create a file just under 4 meg and that'll be fine. So I will put that on the desktop. Invitation A4. And it will tell me not to put it on the desktop. And I will say no, it's going on the desktop. Okay, so we've done that. I'm saving the file and I'm minimizing that. We're going to leave that alone. I'm going to come back to that shortly. But the reason that I've got this PNG is just to allow me to see where the text needs to be. It's just for alignment purposes and nothing else. So, next step. Go into the text editor of your choice. In this case, well, word processor. So in this case, I'm going into Word. And I'll make a new blank file. Now, I did manage in here, because I'm not the world's most... I don't use Word that often. Let's put it like that. But I did manage in the layout to get the orientation changed to landscape. And I do know the trick of placing the graphic, which has been the same trick since time immemorial and is totally ludicrous. But in here, if I drag and drop the graphic, obviously it's too small and it's kind of floating. And I want it over there and it isn't having it. It won't let me move it. Ah, joy. Word, love it. So, a couple of things that you can do. You can go into the wrap text and you can tell it to be behind the text. And now you can move it like that and make it the right size. What I do, so it's in the background and it doesn't interfere with me putting any text on it, is the trick, which is cut that from where it is. It's now the right size and it was in the right place. Double click at the top or the bottom of the page and you will enter header and footer mode. Header, footer. And I'm going to just click and paste. And it will put that, hopefully, in the background, in the header and footer area. But actually, I used to use this trick for a watermark. Now I'm just going to stretch that, make sure it actually does go off the page. Right, and then when I click away, double click away, it's in the background. Now I can click and drag to my heart's content and it doesn't move. So that's the trick. Go into header and footer mode and paste it in. Right, next trick. I need to get a text box in there. So if I go into insert, there is a text box option. And you get an option to draw a text box or draw a vertical text box. And I want to draw a text box. And I want that text box to be down there, where I'm going to put the text, like that. Now, obviously, right now, doesn't look great. So if I go in here and just put name and click away, yeah, we're going to notice the difference there, aren't we? Big style. So you need to know that there, the name, needs to be on here, formatted in the same font. And the font was Myriad Pro. So let's make it Myriad Pro for a start. And I do believe it needed to be... Johnny thinks he can see where this is going. Yeah, well, you challenge me. You challenge me. Right, so try and get that lined up. Now, obviously, to do this, you can zoom in and play around. I'm wondering if you can see where it's going. Let's just say that. Okay, let's try and get that in the right place. I reckon there's about right. Obviously, wrong colour. Don't want the border on it. But you can right-click and you can format the shape. It brings up the format shape dialog box. Don't I sound like I know what I'm talking about in Word? Right, in the fill of it, it's white. It has a solid fill, but we don't want any fill. And in the line, which is a border around the edge, it's solid. We don't want a line either. Oh, now it's just looking like text. So let's get that back so we can see it and lose this format text. because it's jumping all over while it's too big, but there it is. So the only problem at the moment is, right, it's the wrong colour. So to fix that, I'm going to go back to Publisher, not Affinity Designer, and I am going to double click on the orange. Am I? I am, there. And that will give me the hex code. And hopefully I'll be able to use the hex code at the other end. If not, I'll do it a different way, because Word is always a bit on the very weird side. Don't disappear, come back. Right, I don't want to fill the shape. I want the text fill, don't I? Which I should be able to get to from home. In there. More colours. Can I use a hex code? I can. I can put my hex code in there. Oh, it's not pasting my hex code. Why are you not pasting my... Oh, now you are pasting my hex code. Right. And that didn't change a jot, did it? Okay. We'll do that again. What if I made it that colour? See, that works. So why won't you take my hex colour? More colours. Hex colours. Make it that colour. Yeah, it's still not working. I'm crying out loud. It won't match. Is that right? It could be right. Could be right. Let's double click here and have a look. Oh, it's not that different. It'll make much difference. Awesome. Right, but obviously we don't want it to say name. No. We're going to need to do the mail merge, the actual mail merge. You think you can see where this is going. I think it might be going a little bit further. Right, let's save it first before there's a... So we'll call this marooned. We won't put it in documents. No, we'll put it on the desktop. Marooned. Right. So we then need to do a mailing, which is a mail merge in Word. Now, what did I do last time? Start a mail merge. That's what I wanted. I wanted to make letters. So I click on that. Now, it's saying select recipients. So that's the next button along. So at least the buttons are logical. Start on the left, work inwards. So select recipients. You can create a list or take them from Outlook or even Apple Contacts. But I've got a list, if you remember. Had it over here. It was our names spreadsheet. So I'm going to open that. Needs to be open, blah, blah, blah. Trusted source, blah, blah, blah. That was mine. So let me just get my password in off screen, seeing as though every time I do that it's asking for it, and you're doing it a million times. Don't be silly. I'm sure I said always allow last time. Right. Now it's asking for a cell range, which I don't think I need to worry about because it worked last time. So I'm just going to leave that alone and say OK. And it's going to load in the recipients. Now, it doesn't look like anything's changed. But if you're going to filter the recipients, you can filter, etc. We're not seeing them there, are we? But what I need to do is insert a field. So down here where I've put name, what I actually need to do is insert a field, and there is only one, and that's name. So that one down there with the angle brackets around it, that's a field code, and that's where it's going to put the name. So far, so good. Now, at this point, you can preview the results. So if you push the button, you can see we need to make changes because we've lost the descender on the Y. So we need to take that down a bit so we don't lose descenders and make sure that it's tall enough. But I don't want to make it too tall, so we should be okay there. Right, so that's why it's a good idea to go through it. And there's Graham and Paul and Helen and Kim. There is everybody. Awesome, getting there. Right, so that's what the preview results do. Then you've got your finish and merge. Now, where are you guys thinking we're going with this? Because one option is to just merge it and you're done. It's that simple. So let's do that one first. But there is an alternative. So we'll do a finish and merge. And what we want is to either print them or edit in individual documents if you want to edit them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a PDF file. But can you do individual documents? Let's do the individual documents. I really shouldn't make things up on the fly, should I? But what I've got here, letters 1 at the top. So this is a new file. And now when I go through the individual pages, you can see I've got everybody in there and they've all got their own name in the thing. Awesome. So we'll save that one. as not form 1. That wouldn't be good, would it? We'll save that as Word generated. Okay, there is a reason for this. So that's in Word generated and it's created a file. Now, obviously, to see it properly, because I've put the background in as basically a watermark, it looks dimmed out. But it shouldn't if we make a PDF of it. So let's just do that as a save as and save it as a PDF and make sure that everything looks fine and dandy. And if it does, then pretty much you're done. So we'll save that as Word generated, but this time it's a PDF. It's created it. I'm opening it on the other screen. It will open in PDF Expert, and there it is, and it totally fits. Might need to be down a smidgen, actually. But there you go. So you've created your display, you know, the surround, all the artwork in Publisher, but then Word's done the heavy lifting when it's come to the merge. That is one option. But there's a problem with that, isn't there? Who knows what the problem is? While I take a drink. Who knows what the problem is with that? Anybody, any idea? But Johnny loves it, which is good. That's good. I'm glad you love it, Johnny. We're about to make it even better. Because one thing, as you look at this, obviously that's a PDF. If I open up the Word generated file, we could go in here and change it. So we could actually, in the individual pages, we could make changes. Or, let's close that one down, we could go back to this one and make changes to it. So I've just said that could be a smidgen high. So I can actually bring it down by one. Right, is it a problem it's all in one document? No, not really, because you can explode the PDF. That's one thing you could do. You could separate them out. That's not the huge problem. The huge problem, as I see it, is if we do it this way, still need to email to individual addresses. You do, I wasn't addressing the addressing this time, Pete, to be honest. You can do that. You can mail merge with Excel. Shall I hand that one over to Mike for a future show? He's got a funny colour. No, I know you can do that. And you can also do it via Outlook. So I'm not really looking at that part of it at the moment. The issue that I was addressing was, what happens if you're at the point of, yeah, that looks great. Oh, good grief. I need to change the show. I need to add a coconut to the tree or something like that. Because what you've added here, if you remember, was a PNG and it's not editable. So that was the problem that I saw. It solves a problem and it would have dealt with Johnny's issue, but it wouldn't let you edit the artwork. So how about if there was a way to do it where you could edit the artwork, completely edit the artwork, as well as have the mail merge? I do like a challenge. We see what happens when you challenge me. I come up with solutions. Right, I'm going to save that. That's marooned. That's our one with our field in it. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to regenerate the export, because we need to take this back into Affinity Publisher as a mail merge. Oh, yes, let's get difficult. Now, to get it back into there, you can't have the artwork at the back. Johnny's saying how. Johnny's wide awake at this point. Don't know how much coffee he's had, but he's wide awake. Right, if we just have a look at that PDF one, you know, there's no moving this artwork. You are stuck with it, as well as the names. You're stuck with it, but we want that to be editable. Oh, yes, there's a way. Here's what you need to do. You need to double click in the header, which takes you back to this graphic. This is the graphic that you've put at the back, behind everything else. Now, if you right click it, and this is my trick in Word, I haven't got a clue where any of the features are. Not a clue. Not used it in 14 years. But if you right click, you always get a format option. So let's go in and format it again. Now, I want to format it in a very specific way. Prize for guessing how. You can see you've got all the same stuff that we had when I was formatting that field. You've got fills and you've got lines and all kinds of stuff. But you also, in here, so you can change the size of it as well. There's all sorts you can do in here. Shadows, reflections, yeah, none of which is any good at all. But the end one will let you edit the transparency. At the moment, there is 0% transparency. Wouldn't this work with object linking and embedding as well? It very may well do on a PC. Doesn't like that on a Mac. So what I'm doing with this transparency, I'm saying, how about if it was 100% transparent and didn't exist anymore? That'd work, wouldn't it? So we've not deleted it. You could delete it, but we've not deleted it. All we've done is gone into the header and footer and said, now it's 100% transparent. When I close the header and footer, I still have the field at the bottom. Okay, next thing to do. Saving that again. File, save as. This time I'll put marooned, but I'll put field text only. So I've only got the names, and I'll stick that on the desktop. And now you'll be very pleased to know we can leave Word alone. Bye-bye Word. But we do have here, oh no, hang on. That was all very wise of me. But it needed to be a PDF, not a Word file. We're using PDF to transfer it, if you remember. Yeah, whatever. Just open it. Just do it. Oh, you're not going to ask for passwords again. What's this? Yes. You are, aren't you? No, you're not. Awesome. Right, okay. Oh, I know why. Right, I needed to run the merge again, didn't I? Because I've gone right back to the original. So I need to go to the mailings and I need to finish a merge. This time I'm going to print it, but I'm actually not going to print it. I'm going to save it as PDF. It thinks I'm printing it, but I'm not. I'm actually putting this on the desktop as the PDF version, which only has the fields in it as a PDF. Right, let's see if that's any better. There we go. There's my PDF. So let's have a look at it. There are the names. What is she going to do with this, I hear you ask? Right, let's go into Affinity Publisher. We have in this file one page and we have two masters, a blank one and the master that has the content on it. So obviously page 1 is based on master A. Do not at this stage make multiple pages. Just the one. And what you need to do is, looking at the page, not the master, the page, drag and drop the PDF into it. And there is Johnny I. So drag that so it all lines up. Obviously at this point we still only have one name, not multiple names. But we're not going to worry about that. In fact, I am going to worry about that. Nope, I'm not. It's back. Okay, this is the stage. Now, how many names were in that thing? Let's go back into our names. How many did we have? Because that's how many pages we're going to need, obviously. 12 of them, because the first one said name, and that's just the title. So, basically, I'm going to need 12 pages. So, you can duplicate. You should be able to Command and J, but I noticed it was having it a moment. Right, I've got 4 of them. Can I duplicate all 4? Yes! 4, excellent. And another 4. And now I've got 12 pages. Let's go to the end. 12 pages. Problem? Every one of them is Johnny. So as long as you only want Johnny at your party, awesome. But Johnny didn't want only Johnny at his party. So I've moved from page 1 to page 2. And this that I've got selected now, if we look at our layers, it's showing us it's a linked document. I know it should be embedded. It's just one of those things. It's having a moment. But it is the PDF. And that PDF had 12 pages. And if you go up to spread at the top on linked document, you can choose page 2. And if you go to page 3 in your publisher file, you can choose page 3. And if you go into 4, and you get the idea. So I wouldn't recommend this. If you had 3,000 to do, I'd go the other way. But by doing it this way, if you've got sort of, say, 20 or less, I think it's able to do it. That would take you literally 30 seconds. Just go through each page and choose the relevant page from the PDF that you have floating nicely over the top of that page. And now you have a faked mail merge. But you can still change this. So if we decided that we wanted maroon to be in a different colour, obviously I'm clicking here and I'm not selecting it. No, because it's on the master. But if I go into the master and I select it, in there, I should at some point be able to get down here. There we go, select that. And then I could change the colour of that if I wanted to. So if I wanted that to be red or whatever colour I wanted, not blue, magenta, or purple, or red, I can still edit it and everything else works. Okay, that's faking a mail merge. Johnny likes it. I'm thinking more dinner parties, Johnny. A trick for Johnny is, if it's dinner parties you're doing, when you're designing your layout, so say like that, we decided this week, you know, we're marooned at MacBites headquarters, so you're all going to suffer. There's going to be a MacBites every day. It's a miracle. You see what happens when we don't actually have to go in to work? Amazing things happen. So for something like that, if we were going to do it again, maybe the Great Easter Egg Hunt or the Christmas party, if you use the same colour, so the Irwin at the bottom, the actual name, if you use the same colour and you use the same location, same font, you can change the invitation, things like the date and the location and stuff like that, and still use the original mail merge, and then you've saved yourself a ton of time. So the first way to do it was just take it as a graphic and then do it in Word. But you can take it a little bit further than that and then give yourself, I know it takes a fraction longer, but it gives you an editable file to carry on editing. So until the day that we can go into Publisher and say insert form field, and we're done, that's the best I can do for a workaround. Johnny likes it. Thank you, Johnny. Excellent. Okay, let's save that file then. All right, what I'm going to do is quickly just go over what that was, because, you know, for some people it might have been like, whoa, there was a lot of steps. The first thing I did was look at the data in Excel. I created the data in just a list in Excel. Now, I only use the first name, but you could put either the first name and the last name in the same column, or you could put extra information in extra columns and then just insert them as multiple fields. That's what you're doing in Excel. Then you disappear into Affinity Publisher for the first time to create the layout. Then that layout, what I did was export a PNG and I put that into Word. And the full process that I then went to from Word, I did the mail merge and I took it out as a PDF and I took that into Affinity Publisher. So it was the layout in Affinity Publisher, take it to Word, merge the data from Excel, export as a PDF, and then placed it in Affinity Publisher. But the short way of doing it was to miss the last two steps. If you don't need the flexibility of potentially amending the design, nothing to stop you stopping at the Word point and using the PNG in the background of Word and doing it that way. Okay. So you like that? Kim's always telling me I'm good with hacks. Don't like to think there's something that I can't do. How dare they interrupt my workflow? But when Johnny said it, I thought, shame it doesn't work like, oh, hang on a minute. And now what I did was I quickly threw together a demo that literally just had demo text in it on a white background. I think I put a grey box on there and that was it. And I merged it in and then I did the pick the page thing and I thought that's going to work. And it was only today when I was doing the proper data, I thought, hang on, you could stop at the Word point if you need to. So if speed's of the essence, then skip off the last two steps. Okay, glad you like that. Right, let's move on. These are some things, obviously working remotely is on everybody's mind at the moment. We actually sent an email out to our group, the average age of which is sort of in the low 70s. And we put a note at the end. Everybody knows if you're a doctor or an accountant or even, you work in a shop, they understand what you do. But I don't think a lot of people understand what Mike and I are experts in. And it's what you see me doing now. It's broadcasting to the world remotely, working remotely, video conferencing, you name it. Now people understand what we do. Now we're in demand. So I thought I'd share some stuff that I found this week that if you are in the position...
Like COBOL programmers 20 years ago.
Yes, like COBOL programmers 20 years ago. Probably nearer 40, but never mind. But these are things that you may find useful anyway. Maybe you're already working remotely. Maybe you're going to be forced to work remotely. So this was just a collection of things that I found. Notion have put together a remote work wiki. And it's actually really useful. They've got loads of stuff in there. So what you can do with it is, Michael put the link in the chat right now. You can go to it and use it there. You can also duplicate it. So if you look in the top right-hand corner, you can duplicate to your own space. Now, if you duplicate your own space, you take a copy at that point. It doesn't update. So I think the power of this one is putting the link in your Notion maybe and clicking the link to go to the one that is going to update. But they've added loads of stuff to that already. They're really getting behind this. They've also decided they're taking their local user group meetings online. And one of those is on the 19th, and it's called Notion's Marketing Matrix in a Box. So that's available on YouTube. It's going live on YouTube in 5 days. So that's something else that you might want to be having a look at while you're at home with your feet up. Hey, at least you're not commuting if you're doing that. So if you have got a bit of time and you're in the market to learn something new, Creative Live have got a special offer on. It's 12 courses, each of which is $12. So there was one in particular that I thought was relevant this week because we were asked about making videos. Apps to make videos with, and I thought, well, if you're going to be forced into a position, so things like social groups and churches that are trying to keep the community together in these times, and you want to make videos, one of the courses that's available at Creative Live for $12 is this guerrilla filmmaking course. Now, it's 15 hours of tuition and it's $12 for the class, so it might be something to go and have a look at. A lot of it, the equipment might be more expensive equipment than you want to invest in. But some of the things like how to put it together and how to tell a story with video would be as relevant no matter what it was you were doing. So I thought that one was worth mentioning. I've also noticed that 1 million emails that I'm getting and things I'm seeing is people that are talking about how to use productivity things during these difficult times. And one of these was talking about the Pomodoro technique. So Pomodoro technique is basically, you noticed everybody's saying how long they've worked from home. For me, it was 1994. So I've been working from home for quite a while. But if you are working from home, I think it's as relevant if you're not, to be honest. But the Pomodoro technique is basically using short bursts and then taking a break. And the reason there is a tomato there is that they use a tomato timer to do it. So that's a free webinar that is taking place on the 18th. So basically next week you could put your feet up and just watch and binge on stuff. Now another one that would be relevant for the making of videos, and unfortunately they've lost their graphic here. The graphic wasn't there, but it's Telestream. You can't tell from that, can you? This is a webinar Telestream are putting on, and it's called Telestream's The Show Must Go On. And as it says there, it's reaching an audience remotely that becomes necessary. So they'll be looking at all of the technology that's needed, so cameras, microphones, streaming stuff. They are the people that make the software we use to broadcast live to YouTube. So we're using Telestream software tonight. It's called Wirecast. And I'm sure that's part of what they'll demonstrate. So Michael put all the links in for this. The other one is there is a Divi sale. It's the Divi birthday sale. Now, I did mention this in the Slack group, but, you know, if you're at home, time on your hands, feet up, you might want to partake of a little bit of web design. And at the moment, it's 20% off. So it's usually for a lifetime license, $249. At the moment, it is $199, I think. $199.99, something like that. So it's 20% off. And of course, the most important thing to consider if you are stuck at home is being entertained by us all week. And we'll be going live every day at 7 p.m. UK time. Now, do remember, mind you did all manage to get here in the right time today, that we are currently in what we call do not copy and paste. Well, we say week, but actually it's 3 weeks. Basically, we have not changed our clocks yet, but America have. So instead of being 5 hours behind in New York and 8 hours on the West Coast, you are 4 hours and 7 hours. But it's 7 o'clock UK time. So check UK time, which is Greenwich Mean Time at the moment.
Can you better explain do not copy and paste?
Do not copy and paste week. I'm sure the MacBiters know because I've vented my spleen often enough. We used an app called BusyCal. And we wanted to copy and paste events because we schedule up to 50 webinars a week between us, Mike and I. And of course, well, that's every Wednesday, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And when I did, the time was wrong. And I thought, what's going on? And then I realised it went across America changing their clocks and us not changing ours. So I thought, that's not right. So I got onto the developer and I said, this is what's happening. It's a snafu because Apple Calendar does it right. And they came back and said, yes, you're right, but to fix it, we'd have to rewrite BusyCal. And I said, and they've no intention of doing it. So BusyCal, you cannot copy and paste events and get the time correct during, it's usually a week, but this time 3 weeks. Guess who stopped using BusyCal? I can't risk that a time zone's going to be wrong. So I'm happily on Google Calendar and have never looked back after leaving Apple Calendar behind. Never looked back. So that's why it's Do Not Copy and Paste Week. So that will be every day at 7 o'clock. But in the meanwhile, if you are bored senseless, don't forget the chat, the Slack room, the chat that goes on in Slack. You can get in there at macbites.co.uk/Slack. And we're there. Well, somebody's going to be there virtually 24/7. And we've had a ball today, haven't we? We've just passed, I think, 2,150 messages. Can't we chat? Oh, Neil's not closed the schools yet. It'll come, Neil. It'll come. It will. Sneak an AirPod in. Right, so note-taking Nirvana. This is it. This is this app that's been mentioned several times by lots of people. It's very new. It's been around for about a year in development, but it really took off. People started talking about it in January. So I left it alone because you know what happens? It's an Evernote killer. That I've heard so many times. I don't think of apps like that, nor do I think it's a OneNote killer. Most importantly, is it a Notion killer? No. No, so don't panic. I always think when people say that, you know what? To a man with a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And what I mean by that is, if you're using Evernote and you love Evernote, and you get a job that involves designing something, your first question is, how can I do that with Evernote? It wasn't intended for that. No, but I've got a hammer, therefore everything's a nail. I look at it a totally different way. What is this app good at? Can it add anything to any of the jobs that I do? And if it can, awesome. If not, I'll leave it alone. Now, the app in question is called Roam Research. Who has heard of this? Who has heard this mentioned? Just because you're the head teacher doesn't mean you actually need to be there, Neil. I've decided I'm in charge of HR and everybody's working from home. You're going to need all this working from home stuff, Neil, to keep the kids going. I know there's one school shut down. One country has shut the schools down. I wish I could remember which one. Maybe Mike can find out. And they've said straight that they're going to close for 16 weeks. Like, whoa, that's 4 months. I'd find out which country that was. I can't remember. But I thought, good grief, it might be Ireland. I can't remember. MacBites After Hours today did start at 9 p.m. our time, Paul, so if you can work it out from that, you're good to go. So let's have a look at Roam Research and whether it can indeed give you any benefit or not. Right, I'm going to need a browser, aren't I? And I'm going to need a browser that I'm not logged in. So shall we try Safari from there? Because I hardly ever use Safari.
Yeah, Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland, I thought so. Oh, good. Marcus has joined us in Slack. Awesome. So it was Ireland. I guess I was getting confused, Stephen, because there's Ireland and Northern Ireland, and basically one side of the street shut down and the other's not. And Germany's closed the schools. Well, we haven't yet. I had to go in for a governor's meeting last week. It's all right. Deloused myself on the way in and out. It will come. It will definitely come. Right, first of all, I'm going to move this off the screen and go to Roam Research because I'm going to need to create an account. So let's go in there first of all and see if I'm actually logged in and generally fiddling around. No, I'm not. That's good. That's good. So let's bring this back. This is Roam, but I'm going to do it completely from scratch. Oh, Mike uses Microsoft Teams. Right, so I'm going to click on sign up. It needs my name. So I'm going to put MacBites. And I'll use the MacBites UK at gmail.com for that. and I'm not going to bother with the organisation. Subscribe and get beta access. So at the moment, this is completely free. So let's put that in there. Okay, so I need an email. Well, I've put that in once, but let's put it in again. Why not? MacBitesUK@gmail.com. And I'm going to need a password. Oh, joy. Right, let's get over somewhere where I can put that in. Awesome. Right, what do I need? At least 6 characters. Okay. I am randomly pushing a password, trying to make it quite complicated. Right, that will do. Okay, let's take that password and put that in there. Password, sign up. Awesome. Hello, Heinrich. Oh, from Ireland, so you know all about it. You know all that's going on. Right, once I've put that in, you'll see at the top corner, it's got my email address, and this is your welcome to Rome. It asks you for a database name, and it will be the URL for your database. So in this case, I'm thinking it would need to be MacBites. I might decide to make that MacBites demo. And the rationale for that is this is a demo account and this has to be unique. Your database name has to be unique. A lot of people, because of that, are using their Twitter handle. But basically, you're just creating here a database for all of your notes. And then you hit Create Database. Right, I'm not going to do this here, so never, not now. We'll say not now. And this is what you get when you very first join. Now, if I had to compare this with Evernote, OneNote or Notion, I would say it couldn't replace Notion for me. It may do for other people. If you are taking handwritten notes in OneNote, it won't replace OneNote. But Evernote, I think I could replace Evernote with this. The things you need to think about, I will show you the functionality, but the things you need to think about are, it's currently free in beta. It may not be free down the line. Well, in fact, it won't be. There'll be a free level, but the whole thing will become, it will have a pricing model. At the moment, no confirmation on the pricing model, but let's concentrate on the features and worry about the pricing later. Okay, so it shows you the most important features. So it gives you this little tutorial, but I'm going to show you that, so we won't bother looking at that. And this is a little help thing here that, again, we won't bother looking at the moment. So we need to clear that. So this is what you get when you very first start in Rome. And it's very easy to look at it. Mike's probably looking at it right now thinking, no. There's no interface. What am I supposed to do? And that's one of the problems with it. So I've got a whole range of things to show you. Ow. We did mention, didn't we? Mind mapping. We were chatting about mind mapping. And we were chatting about it in Slack. Well, I did a mind map of this. There's my mind map. So this is a genuine thing that I did about why you would use one and what the features are and what we're going to look at, etc. So I'm quite happy to take you through mind mapping at a later stage, but I'm working with a mind map with this. The first thing I had on my mind map was what I originally used. So let me know what you use for your organisation. But in terms of productivity, it depends whether you're going to use this as productivity or note-taking, or both. I started with a homework diary, and you know what? That worked. And my Filofax worked. My Filofax was amazing. So much so, I went and bought a bigger Filofax, an A4 one. That wasn't so good. What was I thinking? Because I then had to carry it around with me. I then went digital and I worked through Starfish Sidekick, Lotus Organizer, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft OneNote the first time around when Bill Gates had just written it in 2001, Circus Pony's Notebook on the Mac, Evernote, OneNote and Notion. So my question when I came to this was, can it give me anything that Notion doesn't give me? The answer to that was probably not, but what it does, it may do better. But it can't replace all of it for me. But its tagline is a note-taking tool for networked thought. So the first thing to be aware of is the interface. Over on the left-hand side here, Now, you may be thinking at this stage, oh, you need to make a notebook. Oh, you need to add tags. Forget all that. Your notes in Roam live nowhere, and they live everywhere. And I'll show you what I mean by that. But by comparison with Evernote, you know in Evernote, over at this point over here, you would probably have shortcuts, but you would also have within this area notebooks and stacks and tags and all kinds of things. You have none of that in here. It's very clean. So there's no stacks, no notebooks, no tags. There's notes, luckily. Now, if you are coming to this from OneNote, you know that there's a higher level than this. There's notebooks, and then within notebooks, there's sections and section groups, notes, subnotes, and tags. Only to a certain degree, but there are. Sounds like a quote from an Apple keynote. Yes, it's a tent peg. I mean, what was it? A tent pole presentation. A tent pole presentation. Now, if you're comparing this with Notion, Notion has infinite nesting. But the power of Notion is how highly structured the data is. And in here, it's highly unstructured, which sounds terrifying, doesn't it? Now, why would you use Roam then? For me, the strength's in making or taking networked notes. If you don't have that need, then I'd say try it and be one of the cool kids, because it is the latest and greatest. Now, we've already signed up, created a database, and we've got our first page, believe it or not. This is our first page. It says click to start writing. So I'm just going to put currently in MacBites after hours 67. So I've just put a note in it. Obviously, each one gets a bullet point, and you are away. And if you wanted with that to make that, for example, bold, you will see it puts it in markdown format. And when you move to the next line, it makes it bold. You could also go up there and select that. And fabulous. That should not have happened. Okay, come back. Come back. I should be able in there, but obviously in Safari it's misbehaving. It's better in Chrome, but I'm already logged in Chrome and I've got notes in it. I was about to try and make it highlighted, but never mind. Right, so you've got your first line in there, and then you just carry on making notes. So it gives you a daily note, which is linked to from the top. When you click Daily Notes, you see your daily notes. And as you start going, as you make a note every day, it becomes your jump-off point into all your other notes. But obviously that's going to be no use whatsoever if you don't have any other notes. But I'm just going to take you through the interface. We have the daily notes that we've seen work. There is a graph overview that I will show you, and there's also a link that will show you all your pages. So currently we have one page. Then there's some shortcuts, which I haven't created any shortcuts yet, but if I do, they will appear underneath there. In the middle, you will have your note. You also up here have the ability to search for your notes. You have this option here, which opens a graph of the page in the sidebar. It won't make any sense until we've got more notes, so we'll come back to that. This is how you add a page to the shortcuts. Now we have a shortcut to today's page. And then over here, you have a much larger menu, where you can open in sidebars and do all kinds of things, which we will look at. Okay, so this is our note. So currently I'm in MacBites after hours 67. I'm actually going to take that away from being bold. Rationale will become clear, I hope. Now, what else have I got? If it was today, what was I needing to work on today? So let's pretend it's in the morning. So I'm not currently in, I'm preparing for. If I could type, it would be dangerous. Right, I'm preparing for MacBites 67. What do I need to do today then? Well, there was my fake data merge in Affinity Publisher, which I'm going to need to make notes on. And there's my PDF forms that I'm going to need to make notes on, aren't I? So those are the things I need to do today. To turn them into a to-do, all I actually need to do, hang on, turn it into a to-do. So I'm using the / and making it a to-do. Moving up, / make it a to-do. Now, obviously, I've done those things. So when I've done them, I put ticks in boxes and they're done. So that's how you would put in a to-do item. But could I have done that without making notes? Probably not. So somewhere I would have the instructions for making the data merge, which indeed I do. I think I had it summarised on my slide. Right, so I've got some notes. I'll just show you so you know where they're coming from. They were on my slide there. Place in Affinity Publisher. So let's take that up. And that's the text that I want. So let's move that out of the way. So my data merge would have notes. So let's say I'm going in here and I want to put them underneath. Let's indent them and paste them in. Those were the instructions for that. And I can fold things up. But that's probably not the best place to put them. You can see so far, though, that the PDF Forms doesn't have anything below it. The Affinity Publisher one does, and that's why it's got a kind of grey circle around the bullet. And as you hover, you can open it. But I might have a lot more notes that I don't particularly want in here because this is my daily plan. All I really wanted in here was I'm preparing for MacBites, I've got this demo to do and I've got that demo to do. But the actual information, so that, basically, let's take that out, I might want on a page of its own because I may need to refer to it down the line if I'm doing a video or something else. So, this is the magic of it, to be honest. I'm preparing for MacBites After Hours. Well, I've probably got a lot of notes about MacBites After Hours. And if I use the square bracket key twice, you see it puts square brackets at the beginning and the end, and a little popover happens. Ooh, what's that? That's going to let me make a page called MacBites After Hours 67. Okay, I'll do that. Didn't look like much changed, but it did. Now I've got a link here and I've got the brackets on it. The brackets are indicating you've just made another page. But it didn't have to leave this page to go and do it. So if you think about Evernote, I'm doing this. Oh, now I need a new page. Command and N. Oh, no, I need to see both. I'll open it up in another window. All right? You don't have to move from where you are to create a link, even if that page doesn't exist. So my mail merge stuff in here, that may need to be a page. So square brackets, move down, enter. That's now a page. And my PDF Forms will be my third page. So brackets, page. And now I've created 4 pages. If I go to my all pages, boom, you've got 4 pages. Plus, I've got a done page. That's just appeared. Hang on, where did that come from? That's showing me every to-do I've got and which are done and which are not. And it's doing that automatically. And I can go back to today with that there, or I can use the daily notes at the top. Now, I also mentioned in here, though, didn't I, for today, that I need to get ready for a week-long shows. So 5 shows this week. So we'll be broadcasting. Oh, broadcasted. No, broadcasting 5 days this week. So I may need to put some notes in about that as well. Let's say that would be Monday and Tuesday. Yeah, but that's probably not the best way to do it, is it? Let's have a think about it. What if we picked a date from the date picker? Which Monday? Oh, that would be the 16th. And then, of course, it would be the 17th. So date picker, 17th. So I can put all the dates in there. Now, magic is happening behind the scenes, of which you are as yet unaware. As I'm doing this, that's the wrong date, each one is getting, let's delete that and do it properly. Come on. Date picker. That was the 18th, wasn't it? As I'm doing this, each one is creating a page for me. All I'm doing is using the date picker, but it is creating the pages. But having decided to do that, go live every day next week, and Friday's the 20th, there we are, I might get an idea for, say, the 17th, because that's St. Patrick's night. So let's click on there. It's automatically created the 17th for me, and I can start typing. So, St. Patrick's Day. It's also telling me I've got one linked reference. And what that means is you mentioned this page, the 17th, on the 14th. Indeed, I did. And I can go back to the 14th from there. So what you're doing is building up a network of notes. Now, this can feel really weird because there's no notebooks and you don't think you've tagged anything yet. Where is everything? All right. Well, if we look at the graph overview, you can physically see where everything is. This is today, and that page there is linked to all of these, and that's right. Whoa, what happened here? There's the 25th. That's the one I made that was a mistake, but it had already generated the page. Not a problem. I can remove the log days, or I can just leave it there because obviously it'll be 25th sooner or later, and I'll want a note for the day and make notes on it. But in here you can see, you can move this around if you wanted to focus on something from the 16th. This is just showing you your notes, but as we said, like Neil's saying, they live nowhere, but they live everywhere. They don't live in a notebook, they just live in there. And diagrams like these, I've seen other people's diagrams where they've got like 5,000 notes and it's just dot, 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 dot. It's so tiny. But you can zoom in and you can focus on a note and you can see how it relates to other notes. So I could see from the 14th here, if I moved it that way, these were the things I was looking at on the 14th. So if I were to go into my MacBites 67 by double clicking it, what did we talk about on MacBites 67? Well, we talked about the fake mail merge, didn't we? So if I go into here and I put in the page symbol and then start typing fake, it will find the page. We talked about that. Now I've got a link from here as well from the show. We've also got the PDF forms, so I'll put a link into that. And what was the other one we had? What else did we look at? Let's go back to today and have a look. Oh, that was it. We just mentioned the two things that we were doing. Now, I don't know about you, but the fact that these are blue is enough to indicate to me that they are notes and they're linked to other notes. I don't need the brackets in them as well. I don't like it. You can get rid of those if you do. I think it's C and B. Which C and B is it? Okay, C and B. It is Control-C followed by Control-B. And then that turns them off and you would have to go through the same procedure to turn them back on. So Control-C, Control-B. And now it's all neat and tidy and I can work with it. So if Mike says to me, oh, we need to go shopping on Friday, we won't.
Never again.
Never again is what Mike says. But no, let's say Thursday. We need to go shopping on Thursday, right? Then I've got the Thursday there. I put in it, shopping trip. Oh, joy. There we go. And then I can go back to today and carry on. So it's just a very fast way to work. Now, can that replace Notion? Well, if you remember how structured my Notion thing was, initially I was like, no, it can't. No way. Where I warmed to it was notes. Book notes, to be precise. So let's say under here, so we're on the 14th at the moment, aren't we? We'll go down to there. We'll come out of the broadcasting 5 days. Right, and let's say that I am currently reading. So reading, and I think one of the books that I'm reading and loving is Working Clean. Or is it Work Clean? Work Clean, I think it's called. Right, so I'm reading Work Clean. I'm going to be making notes from that. So if I highlight it and do the double tab, the double brackets, okay, now I've got a page for Work Clean. Let's say I'm also reading something else. So let's put in something else. What else? Oh, there's Purple Cow, isn't there? Who doesn't remember Seth Godin's Purple Cow? So I'm reading Purple Cow. Now let's say there's another Seth Godin book. So I'm also reading, and obviously these would probably be on different days, but there's another Seth Godin book called Tribes. So let's put that one in. Now, all of those have now got pages. So if I go to Tribes, there it is. And what I can do up here is start to put data in. So I can say author and put in 2 colons and then put Seth Godin. Godin, right. obviously there would be more notes in there. So I would then, you can see, because I put 2 colons, it made it dark. Right, so I'd put in the year of publication and then I'd start putting notes in. So let's just say that I'm putting notes and more notes about that book. I instantly get it linked back because it's a bi-directional link from the day that I was reading it. So I go back up here. Now, Purple Cow is also written by Seth Godin. So if I do the author thing again and then put in there Seth Godin, I'm determined that his name's with an E and it's not. And then I put some more notes in about the Purple Cow. Notes, notes and notes about the Purple Cow. And then go back over here. Right, I can, not that one, I'm going to work clean, going into here. We don't at this stage have that where I can click to it and see all his books, but we could do. Highlight it, do the square bracket thing, and enter. And now that's a link. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to go back to the day and I'm going to look at tribes, and that's not linked. That does not have a link. So it's a good idea to set these links up before you start, obviously. As soon as you put the author in, make a page for them. Right, but now I can click through to Seth Godin and I can see, oh, there were 2 books of his that I've read. There was Tribes and there was Purple Cow. And obviously, the more books from the author that you read, the better. But if I have in Tribes, let's say down here, I want to think, right, well, what's Tribes about? It's about authority. Well, what if I put a hashtag in of authority? And it may be something else as well. Authority, productivity. Let's stick productivity in. What isn't about productivity? Right, so actually how I would do that is I would say keywords, and I'd put the colon-y thing in, and then I would do that. And now I've got my keywords of authority. And obviously you can move these things around, so that will probably be best under author. Now, the power of this becomes, let's go back to the day and let's look at work clean. Can't for the life of me remember the author, but I can put some keywords in. And what's this about? Well, this too is about productivity. It's probably about everything else as well, but we'll leave it at productivity. So imagine I've made those notes today. I've been reading books, I've been making notes, I've been throwing things in from all over the place, a little bit like you would in Evernote. But the difference with Evernote or OneNote or even Notion, when I add the notes for book 1 and I add the notes for book 2, there is no link between them unless I put it in a database and I manually tag them. But in here, I haven't set up any structures at all. I've just gone into it and I've said, I'm reading this, I'm reading that. It's about authority. That one's about productivity. I can cross-reference something else and I'm building it up as I go. There's no relation between Tribes by Seth Godin and Work Clean. And that's going to annoy me now if I can't remember the author. So let me go and find out who the author of that was. Firefox is over there. Work Clean author. It's a great book if you've not read it. Dan Charnas, that's right. Efficiency at Your Desk is his thing. So let's go into Work Clean. We know the keywords, but let's put the author in. And no, I don't want to put that in. I just want to put... I've copied a link. That's what I've done. And it's pasting a link in for me, and I don't particularly want a link. I just want plain text. So let's put the plain text in. Oh, hang on. That is also my fault. I've got a weird mouse at the moment. So put that in, select it, make it a page. Okay. So, going back to my day, I've looked at 3 books. I've made notes from them. I've got no link between the concepts discussed in Work Clean and Tribes, because Tribes is by Seth Godin and the other book is by Dan Charnas. But if I'm looking at Tribes and I'm thinking, yeah, I want to write something about authority or productivity, I click on it, productivity, you can see, although they're written by different people, the concept of productivity was in both books and I can get to it. from one note about productivity. But just a minute, I didn't make a page about productivity, did I? No, I didn't. I didn't put the square brackets around anything. But I did put hashtags in. And that has made a page for me for productivity. Let's have a look at the graph now. Oh, look now. We've got all sorts going on. We've got 2 links between that, and you can move these around as it makes sense. So I worked on that on the 14th, and it was linked to this show. These are my books, and you can see they're linked to the keywords. They've got the author, they've got who the author is, etc. And from anywhere in here, I can then go to a page by double-clicking on it. It is going to feel, at this stage, quite strange. But I got excited at the thought of book notes. It was book notes that did it for me. So what I've done for the last 2 weeks, I've run it alongside Notion. My weekly plan in Notion has stayed the same, but I must admit I found myself gravitating because the page is there for me just to put random notes in. And then what I'm doing is then I'll take back what's relevant into Notion. There's no way I would particularly want to replace Notion and how we run MacBites in it with Roam. But I said I was preparing for MacBites at the top. And just mentioning it makes a page for the show. And I can link to the things that are in the show. So there's definitely an overlap. But if I show you that's what the page would look like for MacBites After Hours, and I show you in here... In fact, I do believe it's in Vivaldi. Yep, I'm actually in there right now. Let's bring that on. This is how we run a MacBites. You can see it's very structured. Who's responsible for it? Who's doing what? What's the release date? The show notes URL, the actual show URL on YouTube. Recording notes would get put in here. Chat logs would get put in here. These are the comms that we send out when we send them out. These are the content items. There's no way I'm putting all of that. All of it. Look at it. All of that. I mean, if we're going down into the full content items, whoa, it goes on and on and on. Look at this. There's no way that I want each one of those to be an individual page in Roam. It would make managing it more difficult, not less. There's also one huge reason why not, and that is the sharing is nowhere near where it needs to be. You either share the entire database or you share nothing, and I can't imagine anybody doing that at the moment. But my book notes are fabulous in there, so there may be some legs in this for you. What I wanted to do was give you an overview of what it could do, what it looks like, what it could do, so you could have a look at it while it's in free beta. No point trying to try it later, is there, when it's not free? It may work for you, it may not. The areas I've seen people get very, very excited about it are things like researchers, where they're trying to find, now there is a word for it, serendipitous discovery. Now you might think, what? Well, today, on the 14th, I've delved into those 3 books. And there's a definite overlap between tribes, what's covered in tribes, and what's covered in Work Clean. Am I going to remember that 6 months from now? No. I'm going to go into tribes and I'm going to think, oh yes, it's about authority and productivity, and I will have some notes in there. But where in there, looking at that, will I think, oh, I need to go and have a look at Work Clean? And the answer is nowhere. There's no way. At the moment, I would know I was looking at these 3 together because it's the 14th of March and I'm looking at them. But once I go into tribes, no, I'm not going to know that. The hook between them, this serendipitous discovery, is I'm looking at it and thinking, yeah, but I want to write something about productivity. When I click on productivity, I think, oh yes, Work Clean, I remember that. That had some good stuff in it about productivity. That's where the power lies in it for me. Your mileage may vary. If you think of the effort that you would have to put into any other system in terms of the building time, the time it takes you to make the notebooks and make the stacks and make them logical and be 100% sure you can find what you're looking for when you're looking for it, you have none of that in here. In here, you sit down and you work and you just use the features like the bidirectional linking and the tagging, and it does the heavy work. It does the rest. Simple as that. I can't see it replacing Notion for me. I doubt it would replace Notion for anybody else. But I can see that it could be used as a supplement. In the same way, the man with the hammer and the nails needs a screwdriver for screws. That's how I look at it. I can see that I would put my book notes in here and I maybe write in here, but I wouldn't choose to try and broadcast a MacBites from it. Just let's have a look at this in here. We actually have in here things to do at showtime. We have pre-show things that need doing, all of that lot. And then we have showtime. So in the half hour when you're logging in, I'm doing all of that. I've got to close certain applications, set my desktop, open applications, make sure stuff's working. I've got all of that to do. And that's my checklist in there. You could put that in Rome, but it makes more sense to have it in here because once I've done pre-show, once everything's got a tick in there, I move on to showtime. And once everything's got a tick in there, then we move on to wrap up and we do all of those things like making the next show public and stuff like that. So for me, it wouldn't replace that. But for more academic pursuits, taking book notes and trying to establish themes between them, I absolutely can see that being done. Now, you don't just have, let's go back to the date, you don't just have the basic things in here, like everything's a bullet. You've got headings, so let's say we're looking at MacBites. You have headings, so let's make a heading 2 underneath that. And then you've got a heading 3 underneath that. So you've got all of your headings in there. You can create links. You've got bold, italic, strike through. Strike through is rather cool. So let's say I've already done that. Oh, no, it's doing something different because it works better in Chrome. But trust me, you can strike through. You can also put code blocks in here, which you can do in Notion. So you can put a code in line, a code block, or you can put a word count in. So you put that in there and then you put your code. So I haven't got any code to put in there, but if I did have, let me see, I've got code over here. That's what the code looks like in Notion. That's my YouTube block. If I want to embed that in a web page, I need that code. So I think I can't remember if I said inline code or not. So let's take that away and do a code block and paste my code in. And that's what it looks like. Not 100% success that, because it should be in there. The actual code, let's just take that bit. It is a block. It should go in there, but it's not doing. It's doing weird stuff. It's not, but it should. What else have we got? You can put images in, you can put YouTube videos in. So let's try and blow the internet up. Let's go and get the link for the video that you are watching right now. And let's go and put that in there. So that puts the link in, but if you put that there, do we have a YouTube embed? And you then put the link in. And then you do that, and there it is. And if I press play, I'd hear myself, but we would destroy the internet. So you can put images in, you can put videos in, you can put other online sources in. As I've said, the magic of Rome is in the bidirectional links, the fact that you don't need to create notebooks and tags and all the rest of it, and the fact that you get this, what I would call an auto-generated taxonomy, that you've got an overview of your notes. I looked at that and thought how interesting that would be to have a think about it for genealogy, where you mention the mother, the father, etc., and see what kind of links it came up with. That's a possibility to have a look at it. For me at the moment, I'm using the daily pages to create a daily log of what I'm doing. I'm using it with book notes and I'm using it with research. And I'm going to keep trying it out and see where we go with it. But I wanted to give you an overview of it because who doesn't want to see the latest and greatest? And it's the one that everybody is talking about. And you've seen it basically soup to nuts. Obviously, you can do more with it than I have actually had time to demonstrate. But in terms of from creating an account right the way through to putting the links in, I think it's worth a look. You will... Initially, you're going to love it or loathe it. And I must admit, my first reaction was, no, not going there. But I went back and I thought, no, you've got to have a look at this because, you know, it's the latest and greatest. Everybody's talking about it. Is there any value in it for you and what you do? And the second time round, I did find value in it. Maybe that's me, because I did exactly the same with Notion. So have a look at it, and then if it's like, no, go back after a week and have a think. Maybe, maybe not. One thing I'll show you, because I created other days, once I've done that, and let's go daily notes here. Once you're in your daily notes page, you get a little calendar at the top. When you click on that, it shows you tomorrow, for which there isn't a page yet. But the pages that do exist are the ones that I created, and I can quickly get to them from up there. So it really, the date is like a log. And you can use that log to move around. I think it's got value for research. So what I've been putting into mine is these book notes. So we'll probably have another look in a few weeks how I'm doing with my book notes and how well we went with those. If you do want to know more about the mind map that I made and did, then let me know about that as well. I just thought it made sense as I was going through it. What am I going to talk about? Let's just sling it in a mind map. And that is MindNode, which we've talked about in Slack. Alistair loves MindNode, so we've all been talking about that. Okay, so I'm going to minimise that. Well, where's Keynote gone? Had that a moment ago, then lost it. So let's go back into there. We're not far off Mike. I've just got some freebies first. You ready, Mike? You ready to copy and paste? Oh, I'm glad that Kim and Deb are going to give it a go, because I know that you're the experts in genealogy, not me, no family. Although I'm assured I must have somewhere, but let's leave it alone. There is a free course from Envato Tuts Plus. This time it's how to make a flyer. Now, I know that it is in Photoshop, but pretty much making a flyer is making a flyer. The principles are the principles. So it's completely free and definitely worth a look at, I would say. Now, we love Envato because they give us free toys. And for St. Patrick's Day, they've given us free extra toys. There are 4 of them. Mike is about to paste them in. There is a watercolour illustration Photoshop action. Possibly not very exciting if you are not particularly into Photoshop. But some of the others, there is a whole multi-purpose HTML5 website template, which 25 homepages and 150 pages, so there must be something in there to have a play with. There is a logo that you can use, which I think was video. I do believe that was a video logo. And my favourite, I like audio, because audio is a pain to try and buy. It's so expensive. This one is a sports action dynamic audio, so it's very upbeat. And as you can see, the price is there. Worth having, I would say. Worth having. Right, so I'm going to hand over to Mike, but first of all, I'm going to take partial credit for the demonstration, because we were looking for some data that you would be interested in. And sometimes demonstrating charts, Mike really does have my sympathy. A lot of people want to know the theoretical side of making a chart and then with their data, but to try and make it interesting at the point of delivery to people who aren't particularly interested in chart types is tricky, but I guarantee you, this data, you will sit up in your seats. There you go, can't see anymore. But I will attempt to jiggery-pokery and make sure that you can both see and hear Mike. So I'll share his desktop first, and then I'll endeavour to get his audio just right, because you know what we're like with audio. Audio is a black art at the best of times. Right, so you should be looking at a chart at the moment, if I can see your chart, Mike. And I'm about to turn your loopback pipe on. So, do you want to do some kind of audio test?
Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow. Can you hear me? How does that sound? Mary had a little lamb. Its fleece was white as snow.
How is that for everybody?
Jonathan's given me some feedback. Yes, he's put some sheep.
Oh, good. In that case, they can hear you.
Right.
Right, you're good to go.
Okay.
Deb
says hello.
Just a minute. It might help if you spoke into the microphone, dear.
I was speaking to the microphone.
You need it tilting round to that side.
Yes.
Try that.
Right. Take my headphones off, because I don't like hearing myself. Well, not at the same time as speaking. Okay. What's the feedback? Sounds good. Great. All right, today I've decided to look at Pareto charts. What a Pareto chart is a column chart. The height of the bars represent frequency or cost, and they're arranged from left to right. Usually, well, not usually, always, the tallest bar is on the left and the shortest bar is on the right. Purpose of the chart is to show visually which situations are more significant. And it's used when analysing data about typically the frequency of problems or causes in a process. Where you might use it is when there are many problems or causes and you want to focus on the most significant. So the example that you've got here is a company that rents vehicles, and what they want to do is focus on the main customer complaints. So what I've done is I've built a little table in columns A and B, and I've listed the 8 main issues, the 8 main customer complaints. You can see there that somebody hires a car and the fuel tank is empty, and they expect it to be come with a full tank of fuel, or the vehicle is unclean or it's damaged, etc., etc. And what we've got there is the number of complaints or about that particular complaint. Now, to make it easy to analyze that data, I mean, I know you could sort that data and that would help you looking at the issues. But we often say that a picture tells 1,000 words, and I've been saying that for the last few weeks when we've been looking at charts. So to make it easy to work out which complaints are causing the most problems, create a chart. But what type of chart do you create? Well, you could create a normal bar chart, you could create a pie chart, you could create other types of charts. But here, a Pareto chart will help us quickly focus in on the information. The bars show the total number of complaints in each category, and that orange line, the overlaid line, which is part of the Pareto chart, shows the cumulative percent of the total. So from this you can see that late delivery accounts for almost 40% of complaints. And you can also see, which we'll talk about in a second, that 3 complaints or 3 categories of complaint account for almost 80% of the total complaints. The Pareto principle actually is often referred to as the 80-20 rule. I've also heard it being referred to as the law of the vital few. It basically means, as I say, that 80% of the effects come from 20% of the causes. If you've not heard of the Pareto effect, or if you have heard of it but maybe don't know where it comes from, it's named after an Italian economist named Vilfredo Pareto. And in 1896, he said that approximately 80% of the land of Italy was owned by 20% of the population. So in this example, 80% of complaints come from 3 categories. Now, it's not quite 80%. These are obviously made up numbers, but I have tried to make it realistic. But if you add up 120, 60 and 40, it comes to 220. 220 is a percentage of 305, which is the total, is 72%. So we're actually not far off. And if you're wondering, okay, we've got this chart, what's it going to prove? What's it telling us? It highlights where the focus should be. If you work for this fictitious company and you ensure that vehicles are delivered on time, you ensure vehicles are clean when they're handed over to the customer, and you ensure the paperwork is correct, that will take care of 72% of the complaints. So, how do we build one? Well, let me just see if there's any questions. Oh, burritos. Yeah, maybe I should say it a little bit clearer. Pareto. There we go.
Pareto.
Oh, it could be. Yeah, I think some people do call it Pareto. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, how do you actually create them? Well, if I go over to demo 2, select in this case A3 to B9, go to insert, and then there is actually a chart type. It's under this histogram icon of Pareto or Pareto. Now, they added that in 2016 on both Windows and Mac. If you're using 2013 or earlier, then there is a little bit more of a long-winded way to do it. I'm not going to show you that way because showing you on a version of Excel that's 7 years old, I'd have thought these days most people would have upgraded to at least 2016, even if you're not on the latest version. So click on Pareto, and there it is. It's literally builds the chart for you in a couple of clicks. So let's resize it, move it and resize it. I'm going to tidy it up. So I'll set the chart title, which I have, I've done this a number of times in the past. You can't set the chart title. Right, okay. I'm going to have to set the chart title manually then. There are one or two charts types where you can't link the chart title to a spreadsheet cell. If you remember, I've shown you this before. You click on the chart title, you click in the formula bar, and you type in the cell reference, or select the cell reference that contains the text. So customer complaints 2020. I'll remove the grid lines as well. So if I click on the edge of the chart, click the plus sign and take the tick out of grid lines, there we go. That just neatens it up a bit, makes it look a bit less cluttered. And I don't really, well, actually, no, if I turn the data labels on, that will give me the numbers above each column. But I don't really need now to see this scale on the vertical axis because it's really just a repetition of these numbers here. So I'll hover over the arrow that pops up when you hover over axes and take the tick out of primary vertical. Those little things just tidy the chart up a little bit. Okay, so that is how to create a Pareto chart. So that's demo 1. But I thought, what, you're telling me we've got a question? A comment. A bit like a cumulative relative frequency distribution graph. It is, Neil, exactly, yeah. Got it in 1. I thought I'd do another demo. It's always good to reinforce the learning and do a second demo. So Elaine came up with this idea, as she said. You can take the credit for this. Of something very topical, which is the number of coronavirus cases. This is live data, or at least it was live data about 5 hours ago that I copied from a website. And I decided for the demo to limit it just to those countries with over 200 cases. So it's an alphabetical list with the total number of cases. And so what I'll do is I'll select this data here, click on Insert, go to the histogram type charts, click on Pareto, and there's the chart. Make it bigger. I'll then go and change the chart title to say, I'll say number of coronavirus cases. And what that is showing us is that 4 countries have accounted for 81% of cases. So if we look at the 80% mark, which is there, and what I'll actually do is I'll draw a line. I'll go over to the shapes and I'll draw a line. In fact, before I do that, I'll just turn the grid lines off to make it easier for you to see. And then I'll draw a line. I'll just use the line drawing tool just to draw a line at about 80%. So the 80% hits there, as you can see. And if I drew a vertical line coming down there, that is hitting South Korea, which is the fourth country, or the country with the fourth largest number of cases: China, Italy, Iran, and South Korea. And I did the maths for you. 4 as a percentage of 25, because there's 25 countries, is 16%. And if we added up the numbers, and what I'll do is I'll put the data labels on so that you can see them. There we go. So if we added up 80,824, 17,660, 12,729 and 8,086, that comes to 119,299. And if we take 119,299 and divide it by 146,529, that comes to 81%. So what we're actually saying is 4 countries accounted for 81% of cases. And that gives us the 80-20 rule. It's not exactly 80-20, it's approximate. So there we have 2 examples of a Pareto chart. Really easy to create, but it's, as with all these charts, just understanding how it works, what it's all about, and when is the best time to use it. So do we have any questions? I forgot the Diamond Princess. Yeah, I have got the Diamond Princess. Yeah, there it is, the Diamond Princess. It's not a country, but as Elaine pointed out earlier, it's got quite a number of cases, so we had to include it. All right, any other questions? That ends our look on Pareto charts, or Pareto charts. Or burritos, as I was just about to say. Okay, I'll hand back to you.
Right, okay. Let's check my audio levels. I know I should be all right. Right, I'm back. Let's get away from my screen before he puts something on that'll be embarrassing. He should always know to wait a couple of minutes.
All I'm doing is stopping everything.
Ah, no, that looks absolutely fine. Right, next thing, very brief demo. But somebody got giddy this week. Didn't you, Mike? When's access coming, Mike? Oh, you're taking requests now.
Access. I'll do it in the next few weeks.
In the next few weeks, Neil. Right, this was something that Mike got very giddy about this week. Very, very giddy when he saw this. Right, this was a real world thing that I needed to do. So it's a very short demo, but you may have the need for something similar. Situation was, I was looking at that. Now, if you look at the name at the top, Photos Triage. Oh dear, it was a nightmare. What we're looking at is a list of folders. They go right back to the provincial weekend in 2016. Each one is an event that we've been to with our group, and photographs are taken. Now, we have a marketing officer who takes the photos. But because I've got a camera and I'm taking photos, I usually take supplemental ones. And then I put them in a folder on here. Now, these are the originals. So this folder, which I will show you this folder live, as it were. Let me just find where on earth I'm up to. Okay, next one's blue, should be black, but never mind. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of there and I'll actually show you that folder live. Here it is. Right, it's got acres and acres of photographs in, literally. All neatly colour-coded. So my situation was, I hadn't processed the photos, naughty me, right, since last July. Pro tip, don't ever do that. It took me hours. But what's in here are the originals. And I needed to create a set of derivatives, which were the pick. So I may have taken sort of 8 gigs of the photos, but we're only going to use 20. So I had to go through and triage them all and process them. So Having done that, I said to Mike, well, this folder structure is the original, and we're going to have to recreate it. And he went, no. I said, yes. So the photographs from our year would have started at handover lunch last April and gone on to the presentation of the bursary checks there, which is 41 folders. So what I would have needed to do was one of two things. I would have needed to either duplicate all of those folders, including the contents, and then gone through each one and deleted the contents from the copy, or I would have had to have sat that on the left of the screen and get another folder on the right of the screen and duplicate the folder structure by typing it in or copying and pasting it. Mike went white. This had already taken hours before we got any further. And I said, no, you don't need to do that. All right, here's the deal. Let's get that aligned to the left of the screen. And let's say over here, we make a new folder on the desktop for Photos, Final Pick. And what I need is to have all of those folders, but empty, not with the gigs worth of content. I need copies of each one of those folders, the folder name, in there. That's not as easy as you would think, seriously. But I said to Mike, no, that can be done, it's easy, leave it to me. So all I did was come in here and select the folders, the names of which I would like, and Command and C. Then open a text editor and paste them in. And what it pastes in is the folder names. So far, so good. At that point, I would save that to the desktop, and I tend to always call it the same thing, names. It's just this time it's folder names, but whatever, names. That's the heavy lifting done. Let's just close that. So there's my file with the names in. Right. Then I go into my Photos Final Pick over there. Let's get that aligned to the right. Now, in here I have no folders at all. And if I copy these, I'm copying 80 gigs worth of photos. That's not happening. But what I do in here is right click and say new folder. And I've got one folder. Now, over here, I see I need 41 folders. It's this simple. Copy. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go on, 6, you can do it. 7, 8, 9, 10. Then I'll do a Command and A and a Command and C. Paste. That gives me 20. 30, 40. Then take the last one, copy, paste. And I've got 41 folders down at the bottom. Obviously, they are not named correctly at all. But that is easily resolved. Very easily. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to use a Better Finder Rename 11. Now, I've got a whole thing going on over here. You can see all these actions and everything, and it's amazing. But that's not what I want it to do. So I'm going to clear all of that and get down to 1. In here you have, and you usually start with text. It says something like that. You can see I've been using this to make folders and file names. But you have whole categories that you can use. And down the bottom you have Advanced and Special. So let's click that. Underneath that you have all of these options, and the first one is Rename from a file list, which is a text file, helpfully called Names, which, if you remember, was what I called it in here. Names. In fact, it had a lowercase n. Just in case that makes a difference, let's give it a lowercase n. But all you need to do is go and find that. So where's this? So on the desktop, names. If you can't find it there, then you can hit browse and it will go and find it. And then it needs to know how you want them sorted and then sub-sorted. But I don't really need to do anything. I just need to change the name. Obviously, in this part on the right, I need to tell it what to change. So I'm working on quite a tight screen, but I'll be able to do it. I want the names of these folders, so I'm going to have to move that out of the way so I can see this. But I want the names of all of those folders changing. And what it's doing when it says current name, Untitled, change to, it's reading in live the names in that text file, which we've just created, which we did by copy and paste. And there are all of the events. I know the first one was hand over lunch. I know the last one was the bursary checks. Looks good to me. Hit rename. It goes and renames. I close that. And now on the right hand side, where they were all untitled, I have a complete folder list, all of which obviously are empty for me to put just the pic of the photos in. So let's go and have a look at one of them, something tiny, the bursary checks. There was only a couple of those bursary checks. Right, so what I've got in the other one is the originals. Now this one won't be big because there was only a handful of them, but you can see there's still over a gig because there was a video. But in here there would be a pic of photos, and I would just choose the ones I wanted to be included as the pic, go over to the empty folder and copy them. So I've got 3 files that take up less than, what's that? Not much at all. Tiny, tiny. Let's have a look. 15 meg. Instead of whatever all of that lot was, which was, 2 point something gig. There we go. And that was what I needed to do. And Mike was amazed. Amazed. So just a short demo, but he assures me incredibly useful, and he's going to be using that. That was where he was at with that. Now, what did I do with the next one? Creating PDF forms. All right, PDF forms. This was a request, and our first port of call was, do you know what? Let's try and find something that's free. That was not easy. Not easy at all. So much so, we thought we were going to have to be limited to the evil empire that is known as Adobe. Now, the benefit with Adobe is PDF was a file format Adobe created. They have handed it over to an international standards body, but obviously they know best how it works. The problem is it's subscription software and it costs a fortune. So it works well, it does the full job, but costs a lot of money. It is cross-platform though. We moved on, and Mike said there's one for the PC called PDF Architect for Windows. It's from a company called PDF Forge, and that can do the same job. Problem with that is also subscription. Now, it's nowhere near as expensive because it's around the $50 to $60 mark, but that's per year, not per month. But even so, it's quite expensive if you only want to make a handful of PDF forms in a year. But that's where we were at until I found the solution to the problem, which is a free solution to the problem. So let's go and have a look at how to make a PDF form. Right, let's come out of there. Right, first of all, you're going to need a form. Now, it doesn't matter where the form comes from. It can come from wherever you like. So if you have a Word document, you could use that. If you want to create one, you could create one in Affinity Publisher or Designer or anything else. You could even do it in Excel if you wanted, because all you really need is a PDF file. What you do with the forms is it's not a case of taking the PDF file and turning something inside it into a form. You basically draw the form over the top of it. So what I've done here is I have downloaded some files. They are, I will show you in there. I've got 3 of them. There's that one, and that one, and that one. And these are from Envato Elements. You'll see they are InDesign markup files, which means they will open. There's an InDesign one, although there's more in there. There we go, that one. They will open up in Publisher. So we'll have a look at the 3 of those. But they are basically all just forms. So I'll just turn off that so you can see them. Very nicely designed forms, but these bits here are not active in any way. Creating a PDF from this will create you a PDF form in inverted commas that you can fill in with a pen, or you can fill in with annotations in another PDF app, but it's not a native PDF form. For that, you need to run it through something else and weave some magic with it. Okay? But that's one form. So we can just pick one that we like and open up that with Affinity Publisher. They are all similar in terms of design. So you'll see you've got text-based elements in. You've got number there. That would be for a date. So you would put in, I'm guessing that's the whole of it, 2 and maybe. Yes, it would be two boxes for the day, 2 for the month, 4 for the year. You've got the account holder's name. Now that's interesting. One, they've spelt holders wrong, but I'll forgive them that. Although that could be foreign, couldn't it? Although it says New York. Never mind. But each of these is an individual form element. So you know obviously how you'd fill that in with a pen. Doing it digitally, it would be a bit of a pain, but you could do it if you did it that way. You've also got the membership type. So which one do you want? So that'd be good if that was a checkbox. That one doesn't have anything that's longer than a single line, but sometimes you're asked for your opinion and you want to put a single line in it. So there's that one as well. And the third one, was it this one? This was the third one. There we go. That one's interesting. It's got circles at the beginning as well as squares. I've no idea why. Should be a design thing, I guess. But again, you've got, these would be checkboxes of some description. Not exactly politically correct, is it? Only male and female. What if you don't want to say, or you are a transgender person? Nothing there. So I wouldn't think that was a yes or a no as to whether you were male or female or not. But and the rest seem to be mainly text fields. But remember, at this stage, all these are, when we create a PDF, is just spaces for you to type into and nothing else. So let's actually have a look at these and pick one. And those two are very similar, aren't they? Very, very similar. But we'll go for that one, I think. Right, so we'll close all of these and we'll just stick with that one. Now, I could just as easily have designed that. It's nothing clever. All these are our shapes. So if I show you over here, they're just frame text. InDesign Markup Language frame text. They're just boxes. That's all it is, just boxes. In fact, we'll probably come back to this and do another thing. In fact, I'll do it now. Where could we fit that? Let's say on here we would like to put a rating. So say at the bottom, instead of all this small print, right, how did you rate our form? Let's get rid of that and put in some text. So we've actually done some of it. How do you rate our form? Okay. Now, what I'm then going to do is put some boxes in, like you've got boxes above. And obviously on here, we want these to be square. Don't really need to be too big, but we'll go that big. That'll do. And make sure that lines up a bit there. And now, before we start doing anything, that's going to need a white fill. So in essence, I'm recreating with that these date of birth boxes up here. Right, now that's only got 6, so that wouldn't be good, would it? Right, let's put that there. Go on, line up. Do you know what? I'll just do that and throw them together. Now it's lining up. Typical, isn't it? That one's not right. But it will be. There we go. That right? Not quite. Not lined up to the top. So let me grab the lot of them and align them to the top. Now they're lined up. Now, why have I put how do you rate our form with 5 boxes? Who can tell me why there's 5 boxes for that? Let me know. Okay, but I've made a few changes and that's all it is really. So I've just used this as a starting point to make it convenient. Right, it's as simple as that. So I'm saving that this time as registration form and it will save it as a publisher file, which I will endeavour to stick on the desktop so I know where it is. And then all I need to do is File, Export, and save it as a PDF. Now there's no option in here, as you can see, although there's presets, none of them say make me a magic form. They are all the default PDF formats for archiving small files, big files, etc. You've got one of my presets, and at the bottom, when I send stuff to Manchester United to be printed, it goes like that, all their settings. But this one will do just for print, and export it and put that on the desktop. I know you're going to default to my folder. I know what you like. Okay, that is the bit that needs to be done somewhere else. So you could do that in Affinity Publisher, InDesign, Word, doesn't matter. Anywhere else. A rating like 5 stars. Bang on, Kim. Absolutely. That's what we're going to do. Right, so let's lose that and let's go and have a look at our registration form. So there is the Affinity Publisher file, but this is the PDF file. So you may think, I'm liking that, Neil, great. Yeah, that would work. Right, so that's what you've got. You can see if I click on these, nothing going on. I have two options at the top. I can edit, which means edit the text. So if I wanted that there to not say whatever that means, so just managing director, can take that away. Or I could put name on it, whatever I want. I can make that change inside my PDF reader, which happens to be PDF Expert. Not all PDF readers are equal. So PDF Expert can do certain things, but there's certain things it can't do. I'm actually wondering, did I leave that file? I had a file, which was my, one of these, could be that one. There we go. There's my form that I had to fill in because I'm a governor. So I needed to put in the school name, my name, that I'm a governor, the fact I've got no interests, sign it and send it back. And all of that was done digitally. It was done in here digitally. But that is not a PDF form. It is a flat file that I can pretend is a PDF form if I have a PDF reader that will let me edit or annotate, and all of those were annotations. So I could do that in here. I could make sure up here, instead of edit, which we've just done to change the text, if I change to annotate, I can do highlighting. So select stuff and highlight, change the colour of the highlight. No, it's red highlight. That doesn't work well, does it? There we go. So I can do that, or I can hopefully unhighlight it like that. So I would have my highlight as yellow. But that is only drawing on the top of it, basically. It's just drawing on the top of it. Literally, there's a pen. I'm drawing on the top of it. It is not a form. It's not an interactive form. But I can use the type tool to do what I did. So let's say my managing director is, Steve Jobs. Right, I can do that, and I can use the hand to move that down, so it looks like it's in the right place. There we go. But again, that's not a real PDF form, it's scribbling on the top of it. So let's say that's not what we want to do. We do not want to do that. But we'll save that file, so we've got that same managing director, we've got our little bits at the bottom. I am not going to waste time making the whole thing a form, but I will show you enough so you will know how to spend all the time to create individual little boxes in there with stuff in. So let's close that down. Now, the trick to this is what you do next. Normally, I will briefly show you this by doing it. Acrobat. Acrobat is the chosen way by Adobe to do it. I loathe Acrobat. Used to be fabulous. Can't find a thing anymore. There is, however, prepare a form. To begin, select a file, scan a document, blah, blah, blah. Start the photo. Yeah, that's basically what I want to do, but it's a single file. So I don't really want to scan a file. It's the one that's open, you stupid thing. But maybe it's doing it. So let's say start. You can add text, etc. Yeah, whatever. Yes, whatever. Okay. So it's got this here, and no, go away. What it gives you up here when it says prepare form is a range of tools to do it with. So what we need is another tool that doesn't cost the arm and a leg, this one does, and a kidney, to do it with. So instead of going up there and saying, oh, that looks like a form, which it is, right, and dragging that out, and then saying This is it. So text 1. And that I would change the name of that to Managing Director. So the form, I give it a name. You can go to town here. You can give it tooltips. So you can give instructions like enter the name of your Managing Director. You can change the appearance of it. Font, size, colour, border, positions, options, alignment, actions, you name it. You can go to town. But the problem is it's too expensive. So that's what we want, but preferably for free. And that's where it gets a bit sticky, isn't it? Because that's really advanced and stuff like PDF Expert can't do it. But did I find a solution? Oh, you bet I did. You bet I did. Which I left open in a browser window somewhere and now can't find. Let's have a look. PDF. There we go. It is that one there. So this is the service that will let you do this. This is called PDF Escape and it's an online service. I have my PDF form. Drag and drop PDF form here. Well, first thing to do, up to 10 meg. What size is it? It's 610k. I think we're all right there. And 100 pages. If you've got a form and it's 100 pages, may I respectfully suggest it's time to redesign it. So all I'm going to do is drag and drop my plain, flat, vanilla PDF file up there. And I'll take that full screen. And now I'm in an editing window. It's not... It sort of looks like 1994 called and wants its interface back, but don't let that fool you, it's actually quite powerful. Over on the left you have a range of tools. So you've got text, you can add images, add links, lines, rectangles, check marks, arrows, freehand, whiteout, circles, and form fields. So you click the tool and that opens this window. Now this window's important, don't just blindly click OK and carry on, select and carry on. There are different types of form fields. So in the drop down we have text, paragraphs of text, checkboxes, radio buttons, drop downs, list boxes, reset buttons and submit buttons. A whole range of tools. But we'll start with the simple one. We'll start with text and say select. And then it's pretty simple. You just draw it in like you saw me do in Acrobat and boom, we have one. Obviously in here it wants individual little letters. And the best thing you could do with that is put the first one in and then copy and paste it. But before you do that, so it's very simple to do it. You can click and you're now inside it. And as soon as you click, you get another one, which I don't want. So I'm going to delete that. Come on, delete. Don't be awkward. No, 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 that's not what I want. I want to stay on the page and delete that. Delete object, that'll do. Right. In this one, I'm going to go into the properties. So if you remember in Acrobat, it had that dialog box and there was hundreds of things you could change. They're the object properties. There's obviously fewer of them in here, but let's get into it. So first of all, it's called Untitled 1. It would be better to call it Managing Director. It doesn't make a jot of difference if you are giving them this form to fill in electronically and they are then going to send you back the form. The only time that the name becomes critical is if they're going to submit it. And the difference between sending it to you and submitting it somewhere is submitting it is going to automatically process it. And you don't want the data to come through separate from the form and it say Untitled 1, yes. Oh dear, what was that all about? So you're naming it, particularly if it's going to be submitted electronically. And what you're going to do is make sure that the field has a name that you will understand the data when it comes through. Now, is it read-only? No. Is it required? Yes, could be. Used required sparingly, only really when it's required. Does it need to be multi-line? No, it doesn't. Is there a maximum length? I'll say no. Comb field, I've no idea, unless it puts lines in it going upwards for each letter underneath. Don't really need to scroll. We'll left align it. It doesn't need to be rotated. And then we'll click OK. The field cannot be a comb field without a maximum length. Okay, we'll sort that out later. We'll make a different one. Okay, so now that has got a name. Now, while we're in here in the object properties, we didn't particularly in there, did we? With it selected, up here it's set to Arial and 12. If you want to set it to a different font, that's where you do it. You have very few to choose from. Size-wise, you've got a little bit more of wiggle room. You can also make it bold and italic, or you can change the colour of it. So if that's sort of critical, we want to make it red, we can do that. Then down here, in that one, right-click on that and Object Properties. And again, this one says Untitled 1. Now, for something like this, I would suggest you do Account Holder 001. Now, this is why I wouldn't do it this way digitally. That's all very well if it's on a printed form. It's not all very well if it's not on a printed form. Okay. You would need 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Oh, good grief. 22, 4, 6, 38 controls. You know, you don't need that. Just put one. I wouldn't put 38 controls on a digital form. It would just annoy people, and it would be very difficult for you because the next one, so let's select that, trying to select it, duplicate the object and put that over the next one, and then duplicate the object and put it over the next one. It's going to take ages and you don't really need it. Plus the fact, in here, you would need to go in, and now you're back to Untitled 3. So then you'd have to put Account Holder, and this one is filling in the second box. It would be a nightmare. Don't do it. It's a really bad idea. But, you know, if you've got to convert a paper form, that's how you would do it. What would make more sense to me with something like these up here, I don't know what an SL number is, but if we draw a field on it, so let's go get a form field, text, select, draw that on it. In that one, it only seems to want 8 characters. So in our object properties, we will put that as SL number. We will make it a maximum length of 8. We'll make it a comb field, aligned left, and OK. And what I would expect to see with that is that stay on the page. I'm trying to delete that. I would expect to see the combs in it, but never mind. So you literally go through and do that with the fields. So with this one here, I think it would be better. And every time I click, I get an object and it drives me insane. I'm trying to delete it. I think I'm going to have to just right-click and delete without selecting it. What I would do with something like that is give it 2 lines and create a multi-line one. So in here, you could say a paragraph, or you could say line. So if we said text and select, and then put that over there, and then go into the properties of it, and this one is Account Holder, make it a multi-line, and OK. And now you would be able to put more text in it. Now we get on to interesting stuff. Membership type. So you need to put a tick in a box, one of these. Which one is it? We'll go back to your form field, and this time you need it to be a checkbox, and select. And you draw around there, so put a checkbox on there, and there's a check in it. Put a checkbox in there, and put a checkbox over that one. Now, obviously, only one of those needs to actually be checked. Let's assume the VIP is more expensive. You could leave that with a check in the box as a default if you wanted to. They should probably, really, in the object properties, all be unchecked. So at the moment that's saying yes. We just take that away. Would that work? I'm getting another one. I don't want to do that. Delete. Let's go into here. There you go. It's gone. So as I click that, it's actually putting the tick in and out the box. So really, you should leave it like that. These are all the same. So back in your form field, in text, select, and just draw over them. Obviously, change the properties, etc. And it's that simple to make a form. All of these are similar to the checkboxes up there. But let's say down here, in those two, instead of that being... Oh no, hang on. That's text and it shouldn't be. Delete object. Let's go back and choose a different one. This time we want it to be a checkbox. And draw that over there. Object properties. And this time, instead of it being a type as a checkbox, what if we put a cross through it? It will display differently. And you can take that out of there. And you can duplicate and put that over there. So it's very quick once you've done the first one, but remember to change the name if you're submitting digitally. So duplicate, and then go through and take the time and rename. Right, but we've got all of those. Duplicate. Awesome. Now this one down here is a different type. It says signature. And when we went up here, we didn't have a signature one in here. Now Acrobat does have, but that doesn't. We just have to find a way to do that. You can't actually put something on that they can put a signature in, but they can do it. But what I'm going to show you now is the rating of our form. How do you rate our form? And Kim was bang on point with like 5 stars. So we're going to make this a checkbox, just like all the other checkboxes. Draw around the first box. But you may have noticed, obviously we don't want that in there, when you right click and look at the object properties, you have a check type. And you've got circle, cross, diamond, square, star. Awesome. So that one, when I click it, gives you a star. So all you need to do is duplicate and put it in the right place, and duplicate, and duplicate, and duplicate once more. Now that one might be an idea to leave it set to 5 stars. And then they click to take them away. Let's cheat. Right, obviously you would do that with all of those, but I've put in enough there to be getting us going. Right, the next thing to do. That's it at that stage. All you need to do, you can save it and come back to it later. For that you would need an account. Or you can here save and download the PDF. What do you want to do with it? Well, I want to save it. So let's save it and it will go into the documents. The downloads folder. I will go over there and I now have a registration form in my downloads folder, which I've just double clicked and it has now opened in PDF Expert. The difference this time to when we opened it the first time is that we have purple fields, and as soon as I click the purple field, it's live and I can do all kinds of things. I'm married and unmarried and divorced and everything. Father's name. My father was called James. There you go. James, not Cames. Crying out loud. Did we put gender in? We didn't, did we? We did put our number up here. So let's put 012. Now you see what happens with that because it was combed. It lined up perfectly. So we did a combed one rather than separate ones. That one would probably work well down here if we'd have done 2 separate ones on there. So it's a matter of working out what this can actually do. Can you reset the form? Now you can. Let me just I save that one. Close that down and go into there. Do that. Right, back over here. So we're back in the editor now. In the form fields, we have some options. We have a reset button that we can create. So down at the bottom, you could have a reset button. So we could put that there and they could reset it. Now there was also on there a form field that was a submit button. So draw a submit button. So I might put the reset button somewhere else actually. Let's grab, no, stop drawing them. I'm trying to grab it. Oh, this will drive me mad. Yeah, I'm going to leave them where they are. There's obviously a trick to this. I think it's very Windowsy. And I'm not very Windowsy. I can grab it. Can I? I can grab it there. Let's see if I can do... Oh, now it's done another one, for crying out loud. This is going to kill me, this. Right, let's move this button. Right, there's the reset. There's the submit. Now, there must be some action behind the submit, behind the object properties. So when you submit a form, you would need a handler. So that is an ASHX file, which is going to process the form and send it somewhere. One of the easiest ways to do it used to be to email the data. But for that, you're going to need some kind of server-side processing to actually make it work. But just for completeness, we'll leave them on there and we'll do another export. We'll save and download that one. So it's in my downloads again, second copy of it. Let's open up that one. And my stars are in there as well, so you can see if I take my stars away. But obviously my form's amazing. All right, let's put some of these in. And that one up there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hit the reset button. Do you really want to reset the form? Yes. And it goes back to how it was. If I submit it, I'm not going to, because if I submit it, the URL that was in there was back to PDF escape, which means it's going to send the data in that form up to there, and I've no idea what it's going to do with it. I have not looked into submitting it because the code behind the submission button needs to be different for every form, and only you will know how you are having that thing submitted. One option is to just put the information in and then save it. So I can put in my stuff here and my managing director, Fred, and then just save the form. And that is now saved with that data in it, and then I can just send that back as is. But you've still obviously got the problem with this signature down here, that there's nothing to click or do. To sign it, there's different things when it comes to signing PDF documents that you may be aware of, or you may not. One way of signing a PDF document is digitally with a digital signature that you will need to get from a certification authority. The other way to sign it is literally just to sign it. As you saw with my governor form, I just signed it. But I said to you, I did it on the screen. I didn't print it out and sign it and then scan it back in. That way madness lies. You have your annotate option in PDF Expert. Now, I'm using PDF Expert. There are many other PDF readers that actually allow you to annotate. But PDF Expert's particularly good. It has the ability, see the little pen? My signatures. My signatures. When I click the pen, there's my signature and there's Mike's signature. So all I do is click, drag it into the box and scale it. And now I've signed it. Send that digitally, nobody is any the wiser. We could even have, go back into that, we could even have Mike signing it too at the top there. There we go. Mike's autograph up there. You also saw with my signature, Mike's was shared with me, I do believe. But if I go into mine, you can see I've got options to change the colour, and I could make it thicker or thinner. So it's gone to blue, it's gone a bit thicker, or it's gone thinner. But that's coming from PDF Expert, but that's one way to sign it, and that's what I do when I'm signing documents. Pro tip, if you make it blue, people think you've signed it in a biro, and they hardly give it a second glance. If it's black, it does look a little bit like it was stamped on. But blue works lovely. Lovely. In fact, I got a signature from somebody that they wanted to put on their letters, and it was black, because they'd scanned it, and it was black. And I thought, that does not look real. And I used Affinity Photo to turn the black to blue, and then it looked like a biro, and it really did look like a biro. So it's as simple as that to actually sign it. So that was what was required. All the ones that wanted to do that, is that exactly what you wanted to do? I think it's good that it's free, and it's quite amazing it's free. The number of routes Mike and I went down to find a free service, we'd all but given up when I stumbled across that one. Because a lot of them could do certain things, but forms was where they drew the line, and that was where it went into paid territory. But that one it's not got as many features as Acrobat, but I think it's got virtually all of the features that you would need. Right down to the fact you can have combing, and that will line up the numbers, etc. So hopefully that covers everything that you wanted to do with a PDF form. I sincerely hope so. I particularly like the star rating at the bottom. Really do like that. Oh, the only thing with that is, I would say, you could take away one in the middle. But you could get very artistic with it. I guess you could say 5 and do that a different way. No, but I'm liking the stars. I am liking the stars. Okay, let me know in the chat if that covers everything. Kim's rather happy with that. That's good. That's good. So I will save that and come out of there. So that was pdfescape.com, which was quite surprising. I was surprised with that. I was very surprised with that. But it worked and it worked well. So let's get back into there. pdfescape.com. Right, I promised an unboxing, didn't I? And I promised a very strange unboxing. You will remember, doubtless, that we had a hectic Christmas. With Mike's dad dying and all the funeral arrangements to be dealt with. Some gifts were left unopened, including one from Mike to me. But Mike said that I need to open this Christmas present today in light of the ever-changing coronavirus situation. So here goes. I'm wondering what he's got. Oh, glad you all enjoyed that. Good, excellent. Hello from California. Hello, Melinda. Can't wait to watch the replay from the beginning. We're very good, I hope. I hope we're all having a fabulous time. I'm having a fabulous time. Not gone stir crazy yet. So let's get into here and let's get you seeing the webcam, because that's always great fun, isn't it? As I endeavour to move the desk around. And Mike has been very humorous. He's been very humorous here with my Christmas present that's still wrapped up in its Christmas paper. He's put extras next to it for me and said, you know, maybe he should have got me these at Christmas. So let me get my webcam going so you can see what he thinks is funny for me for Christmas. Bless his little cotton socks. There we are. Right, let's make that live. Come on, where you go? Where you go? That's my hand gel. I have my hand gel. And look, we're rich. We have a toilet roll. I think he should wrap that up and put it in the present. Are you thinking like I'm thinking, that there's some correlation there, isn't there? I'm thinking there could be a toilet roll inside there. But look at that.
We weren't stockpiling then.
We weren't stockpiling then, no. There you go, there's my Christmas present from Mike. Genuine, still wrapped up from Christmas. So he insists I open it today and share it with you all. So that's what I'm going to do. I can't wait to see what I've received. It's spongy-ish. It's hard but spongy-ish, and it rattles. There you go, there's a rattle. There's a definite rattle on there. Right, okay, I'm opening. Only me could be opening Christmas presents in March. Right, here we go. Ooh. Oh, he's done a very good job wrapping it. I'm very impressed, Mike. Right, okay, what does that say? Enjoy your coffee. Oh. And that says M-A-U-A-G, so I'm thinking mug in some language, or maybe it's coffee in some language, but it could be because it's in this polystyrene thing, so we can't have a disaster with it. We can't have it broken. Right, how on earth am I going to get in here? Could be a scissors job, this. Oh, it could be. Oh no. Graham, you could sell that on the black market. You should see Manchester. There's not a toilet roll to be had. Mike, get those pictures that you had from Morrison's or Tesco's. It looked like Armageddon. I don't know where it was. I'm trying to get into here. I've got the scissors out. Oh, it's going. Well, it was Manchester, I know. There was nothing on the Evening News this site. It was, because I saw the yellow flash at the top. Mike's going to put a link in, Graham, so you can have a look at our supermarkets. Nothing. Wait, I think I'm in. Oh, my word. Right, there we go. Oh, it is. It looks like a mug. I'm going to have to open the other side as well. It won't come out. It won't do the hinge thing. Right, I've now got the whole of the plastic off. Whole of the plastic has gone. Right, let's lift the lid. Oh, it's upside down. Let me get it the right way up. Right. It's a mug. What's it say? Sometimes I stay inside because it's just too peoply out there. Mike, you were spot on right. Yeah. That is so me. But at the moment, I think that's all of us. I'm loving it. Thank you, Mike. That's wonderful. And so appropriate. How did you know? That's fabulous. So I've now got everything I need to stay inside for quite some time. I have my toilet roll, I have my hand sanitizer, and I have my mug. What more could a girl want? Fabulous, Mike. Fabulous. Loving it. Loving it. I don't think I had anything else. I've got dog treats, but apart from that, I haven't bought anything this week. It's alarming, isn't it? But yes, it is far too peoply out there, so I suggest everybody stays inside. And if you want toilet rolls, Graham's your man. He's now opening a black market in Morrison's toilet rolls, for which we're all grateful because we're all going to need some of those. Right, okay, thank you, Mike. That's wonderful. All right, I'm going to get back in. Yes, my lovely, lovely mug. Only Mike could buy that before Christmas. Do you think he knew? Do you think he knew? I think he could have done. Well, we're going to be back next week. And it's a Friday. Back to Friday. But we're all working from home, aren't we? So it's not going to make a jot of difference anymore. Friday. Same time, but Friday. But don't forget what we said at the beginning. It's going to be a marvellous MacBites week. Because we're going to do an audio show every night, 7 o'clock UK time. And you are all invited. All you need to do at the appointed hour is go to macbites.fm. We will send reminders on the MacBites list. My list will go mental if I do that. But on the MacBites list, you will get reminders. We might have a raffle and Graham might provide the prize of 4 toilet rolls, seeing as though Graham's got a surface of them. Oh, that's amazing. So don't forget that this week. If you are going stir crazy at home and you would like some fun and frivolity, we'll be providing that entertainment. All the tales of us being marooned. And you know from the week at MacBites headquarters that us being marooned, the bomb squad last week. If you missed the beginning of the show, at the beginning of the show, we do what we've been doing this week. And last Sunday morning, we were woken up half a mile away as the bomb squad arrived. Don't ask. Just go back and watch the beginning of the show. I swear people think I make this up. That's why I put the piece in from the paper. No, did not make it up. But I opened my eyes and I said to Mike, what's that noise? He said, the bomb squad. I said, fair enough. I kind of expect it. So we'll be back every night next week. Right, we love you guys. If you love us, can you give us a thumbs up? We asked at the beginning, but now you've seen the show. If you've enjoyed it, give us a thumbs up. If you want first dibs on everything that I do, which includes those long sessions on YouTube, not quite as long as this, but long. Oh, Tracy managed to get 16 toilet rolls. Good grief. We're going to be limited to pieces at this rate. You need to be subscribed to my list, which is elainegiles.com/VIP. But all of the MacBites fun and frivolity, like the live show every night this week, that's going to be coming to you via macbites.co.uk/macbites-mail. Now, as if that isn't enough, we also have a Slack channel, and we have fabulous, fabulous fun in Slack. So if you are there, we're going to be there all week, and if you're working from home and in need of some company, we're going to be in there, so come and have a chat. If you don't know about Slack, works on iPhones, works on Android, works on the desktop, and you can get to it via macbites.co.uk/Slack. If you're already a member, it will log you straight in. It might ask for your password. Unlikely, though, if you've been in before. If you're not, it will take you to a page where you can sign up. So put your details in, and it's where we carry on the conversation. But we have announcements regarding that today. We've had 2 new channels arrive today. One was courtesy of Helen, great idea, Old Topics. Now, this is for when you remember that we've covered something on the show, because there's been 67 shows now, and you can't remember when or which show. In which case, go onto the Old Topics channel and give us a shout out, and we'll all hive mind, try and remember when on earth it was. The other one we've created is a channel dedicated to working remotely. So it's all things about working remotely, tips, tricks, and where to vent if you are working remotely. Now, if you're in Slack, you do have to join these channels yourself if you want to. It's not compulsory. You always choose what channels you want to join. You can view the channels, but if you want to post, I think you do actually have to join the channel. But they are there. So if you're already in Slack, the channels will be there and you can go look at them. But if you want notifications or etc. you want to post, then you need to join the channels. So feel free to join those new channels if that is something that interests you. But as I say, we will. Hang on, we've moved forward and we should be going backwards. We should be going to the date of next show, which disappeared. There we go. That one, next week. Yay, Friday. So, how on earth are we now? Did we all enjoy that? Was there something in there for everybody? I sincerely hope so. What's going on here? Oh no! Extra work, Graham, going in. Can't you do it from home? Can't they give you one of those really nice Macs that you set up for them? I remember that. Weren't they on... Was it Mojave? Before Mojave was a thing? Or did you go straight to Catalina? But they definitely had some very nice Macs. I think they should give you one. Can't see the new Slack channels. Oh, that's not good. I can. And so can Mike. Have you refreshed, Tracy? Maybe log out, log back in. Not panic buying the toilet rolls. I must admit, I don't think we bought toilet rolls. I think Mike might have got a packet a while back, but you're not particularly going to use that many more, are you? I think it's just a panic thing of going out. Like, what would I least like to run out of? And apparently it's toilet rolls. Don't seem to be worried about food, though. Water got me. I thought, for crying out loud. Now, Pete made a point. There's water in the tap. There is. I don't think I've drunk tap water in years because all I drink is water. And I always have bottled water. And I'm very picky about my water. Mike usually went to Tesco's, I think, for water. And this particular time, he came back in and he gave me a bottle of water. I didn't even notice. I just put it in the glass and I said, "Where did you get that from? It's a vial." And he went, "Oh, that was from Aldi." I said, "It's vial." So he said, "Well, you've had it from Aldi before." I said, "Well, it's vial today." Anyway, it must have been a Duff batch. We binned that water. A few months later, we ended up getting some water and it was absolutely fine. So, yeah, I don't mind where we get the water from as long as we've got some water. I could, I guess, in a pinch, drink the tap water. I'd probably boil it first. But where Mike used to live, which was only about 15, 20 miles away, the water was vile. It was orange. I mean, literally, it came through the tap. It stank and it was orange. And when I was in London, which I know Johnny was, but I think Johnny's nodded off. Johnny was talking about washing the car in London and how much shampoo he should put with it, with the water. And I said, sort of, "You're not washing the car with the water, are you? For God's sake, buy bottled." London water is the worst water on the planet. It's diabolical. Oh, would not wash the car with it, much less drink it. It was vile. I had a friend who lived in London. She lived in London all her life. And she went down to Devon on holiday, which is near where Graham lives. And she'd never had normal water, water like you and I have. She goes down there and she uses the same amount of shampoo as she uses in London. Took her 3 hours to wash it out. The water in London is incredibly hard, so half the shampoo is to soften the water. It's scaly, it's horrible. But she didn't make that mistake twice when she got to Devon. I could install something like that, I guess. We don't tend to do that here. There are special taps and stuff. There are even taps that do boiling water on demand. But no, we've not done anything like that. I can't be bothered with the kitchen, to be honest. I don't do anything in the kitchen. The kitchen's kind of a room that I pass through on the way out of the house on the occasions that I leave the house. But as you know now from my mug, it's far too peoply outside, so I tend not to leave. Your water's gorgeous, Graham. It is really nice. I remember being down there. You could definitely drink that. But you have to be very careful with your shampoo. You see, if you're in London, there would be an argument for every one bottle of soap that we buy in Manchester or Devon, they should be allowed to. Because the London water's that bad, you need one bottle to soften it. But we'll see how it all pans out. What I don't get is these production lines should be working at capacity. So how is everybody sold out? Because at some point, you're going to run out of room for toilet rolls, aren't you? Or that would be my logic. My logic, you would run out eventually, but who knows? Who knows? We haven't ventured out for any cake lately, though. We've not done the cake thing, which may be a good idea or a bad idea, I don't know. I don't actually feel like venturing out anywhere, to be honest. But I guess it's going to have to be done, isn't it? You can't just sit here. But as I said earlier, we have had to cancel all our social events, so all of that lot's gone. We had another 3 or 4 planned. 4. And they've all had to go. As I say, the demographic of the group is older than we are, wouldn't you say? Old, yeah. They are, but they're very concerned, and I'm not surprised. So all those have gone, unfortunately. So that's basically the end of our year in terms of organising stuff, which is actually, I've sat here today and like, oh, well, what am I going to do once I've done these photos? I'm done. Amazing. There are places that have good water. There are places that have bad. And Stockport's a bit odd because it actually is on the edge of the Peak District. So you would think it would be nice water, but it's not, and it absolutely stank. Mike didn't know any different until I landed and said, you know, what's with this water? Why does it stink? So once he'd tasted bottled water, that was the end of that. I wasn't drinking that stuff. I mean, it's the kind of thing where you make a cup of tea and you're knocked over by the smell of the tea. Not good. But we're quite lucky. Ours is drinkable in a pinch. But we just traditionally have bottled water because, as I say, it's all we drink. Either that or one cup of tea. Oh, Kim says you're going to have to dance to Queen at home. Sadly, we've actually got tickets for it's an ABBA gig, isn't it? Yeah. We don't know what's happening about that yet. It's probably 2 months away. So I don't expect any news about that yet. Is that actually a group or is it the orchestra group? So it's a thing on at what we call the Bridgewater Hall, which is it's the home of the Halle Orchestra, and it's going to be, or the plan is, it's a full orchestra with an ABBA tribute as well. So that sounded fabulous, and we've got great seats. But the way it's going, great seats would be like here. So we'll just have to see what happens about that. It'll go one way or the other, I reckon. It'll either rumble on for months or disappear in a couple of weeks. Who knows? But hopefully we will be able to entertain you in your lockdown. Oh, which Kim is coming to the end of her lockdown, aren't you? So what day number is it today? Is it 12 or 13? Because you're nearly there, you said, nearly there. Thing is with this, if you're nearly there and you then venture out again, you could find yourself back in for 2 weeks. This could just be never ending. It's so terrifying. Mike's been working from home for 2 weeks. 2 weeks already. Plans to work from home for the next 2 and a bit. Then we've actually got a holiday. But you know what happens when it's our holiday? There's usually some calamity that is beyond description, like Christmas. So I will pre-warn you. And you see, Pete's saying months, and I've got to agree with you, Pete. I think even if it tails off a little bit, there'll be clusters here and there. So until we get herd immunity, I'm not liking that. Herd immunity. Basically, they're going to infect us all over a longer period of time and then we'll all be fine, apart from the ones who are dead. And apparently we're not supposed to worry about that. I'm not sure about the logic of that one, but Boris is getting a lot of grief. Having said that, Donald's getting a lot of grief. So you're on day 13. I think you should head to the grocery store. In fact, I think if you've self-isolated for 14 days, you should get priority. Because obviously other people have been going out in that time and cleaning up. They're going to have to bring in ration books. Mike mentioned this, and I thought, no. But now I've seen what's going on, I can...
Kiva been getting a walk?
Yeah, what about Kiva? Has she got a treadmill or something? Lola would go stark staring crazy, wouldn't she? And Maya would have done. Oh, good grief. Has Kiva been running around the house? Because Lola's taken to be getting quite giddy, hasn't she? She has been giddy tonight. Mind you, that's probably because she had that big dentist stick earlier. But she didn't have a schmacko. She keeps a little black book of how many treats we give her, and if it's not enough, we all suffer. Oh, I did have a great picture of her this week, though. Oh, you saw that, didn't you, at the beginning? Let me get my lovely picture of the lovely Lola up. Yeah, that was on the Thursday after Maya. There she was, holding court. Look at that. She was well away. Do you know what was scary about that? My Amazon delivery was in that porch there behind the curtain, and I couldn't get to it because I saw her face and I thought, I'm not going to disturb that. Just look at that. Ah, Kiva gets to walk early. Lucky girl, Kiva. At least she's getting a walk. I did hear this week, now Pete will probably know more about that than I will, but I did hear this week that cats and dogs can't get it. My first thought was with that, and how have you tested that? Exposing cats and dogs to it, probably. But I did hear that they don't get it, which is good news. But then it's not good news if they lose their people, is it? So hopefully things will improve. I've got a nasty feeling they're going to get worse before they get better. Yes, we've been banned from the US now. Donald was being quite kind to us, but now he's not. But apparently it doesn't apply if you're American and you're going home. But you will have to go through certain airports and certain procedures, which is pretty much what it's like on cruises. We mentioned that friend, didn't we, that goes on cruises, and his cruise isn't going well. Well, they're not infected yet, but basically there are floating independent state at the moment, and they're not allowed to dock anywhere for 14 days. So that's pretty bad, isn't it, on a cruise? You're not getting off and visiting the places that you've paid to visit. You're just sat on a boat all day. It would drive me insane. That's why I don't do cruises. Don't do flying if I can help it either. But I think that just keeps me safe. Dogs don't need to be in quarantine. Well, that's good. At least they're not spreading it, because, you know, if a dog caught it off their human and then spread it to another dog, that would just be chaotic, wouldn't it? I wonder what it is about dogs that makes them immune. Maybe we should all go see vets and not doctors. Oh, Pete, I'm liking that one. Who let the dogs out?
He's nicked that somewhere, because I saw that this morning.
Oh, I'm loving that. Cats would be even worse, though, because, I mean, cats aren't on leads, are they? So they could be spreading it wherever. So it's a good job, really. I don't know without... Didn't we get criticised for not closing the schools and stuff? I mean, it's going to happen. It'll happen in the next week, which will bring its own level of chaos because, you know, if you're a single parent, how can you be in two places at once if you're an NHS worker? Even if you're not, one parent's going to have to stay at home or you have to put your kids into daycare. And what's the point of that? Because then they might as well go to school. If it goes on much longer past that, we won't be having our governors' meetings, will we? You should have seen the governors' meeting. Usually we're all huddled around these two tables. Well, these two tables were like a room apart, and people were walking in and looking, and one guy made the mistake of saying, oh, I had a sniffle last week, and that was it. Everybody in the room moved to the other side. And I came back in and Mike said, hand wash, hands. I look like a surgeon. You know, there I am scrubbing myself with a nail brush. And I said, you're all right, I didn't touch the table. He said, what? You know, because you put your stuff on the table in front of you, your pen and that. I said, I didn't touch the table. I had an iPad in one hand and a phone in the other. And by having something in either hand, it stopped me touching anything. So I only touched my iPad and my phone and then came back, but deloused on the way in. Where did I go when I actually had to say that? I deloused on the way in. Oh, that was a dentist, wasn't it, last week? Yes, but I've survived 7 days after the dentist, so fingers crossed, I'm okay with that. Mike's cancelled his dental appointment, though. Not doing that.
That's because it clashed with something else.
It clashed with something else was the story, but I said to him, well, it's just as well anyway. You didn't rearrange it, did you?
Yeah, the end of the month.
I think I'd rearrange that to the end of the month next year if I were you.
Yeah, it gives me more time to floss.
Yeah, that's the point.
She'll moan anyway.
You know, making arrangements for Kiva, that's the thing. How on earth would we cope if both of us were ill with Lola? Oh, it's such a worry. And we're not worrying about ourselves, we're worrying about others. That's the thing with our group that we've arranged. You know, given the age of them, it was like, well, the ones that are younger are like, well, why can't we just meet up? You know, it might only be like the symptoms may be fairly light. Yeah, but what about other people if you pass it on to them, if you're just a carrier? So the idea was just bin the lot. Bin it, and it's best to be safe. And okay, it's 4 events. Well, it's 4 events that will either just get lost or we'll put them on in the future. And hopefully everybody will be fit and well and will make it through this. Hopefully everybody will. But, you know, it feels really weird. Normally when there's a crisis, it's country-based or very locally based. We have people here from all over the world tonight, don't we? And everybody is in the same boat that we are, figuratively. Thank God I'm not on a cruise. Mind you, would you have gone on a cruise? I wouldn't. No. I'd have taken the hit if they said, you know, you're not getting your money back. Fine. Absolutely fine. Not that I would have booked on a cruise, but I definitely wouldn't. I would not be heading off on a cruise, not on pain of death, would I? Oh, I've just found another tiny bottle of hand sanitizer. I'm rich. Not that I intend to sell it, but I've got a little bottle. That's 3 bottles I've got, Mike. 3 tiny bottles. Thing is, they reckon soap's better than hand sanitizer. Is that right, Pete? Are we better off with soap? Oh, eye doctor appointment. I don't like ophthalmologists or whatever. Ophthalmologists. They're all like surgeons now, aren't they? You used to go in and read printed in Hong Kong on a card. And now you go in and they're poking and prodding you with stuff which I don't like. They only got one eye done before I screamed and left last time. Pete knows I'm not good with anything medical. You have no idea of the level of this, Pete. I went in for an eye checkup, which was fairly straightforward, I thought. And you know where you put your chin on a metal thing and you look through like a pair of binoculars. And I thought it was one of these things where they look at the back of your eye. The next minute, she pressed this like air thing and blew air on my eyeball. Oh, that was the last time she did that. She should have warned me first. My eyes are incredibly sensitive, and I jumped 20 foot in the air. Like I say, she only got one eye done. She did not do the other eye. Absolutely not. That's how I've always treated it, Tracy, that I carry hand sanitizer with me in my bag. So when I got to the governor's meeting, I had to open the door. I did it with my elbow. I look like a surgeon. I was only missing the scrubs, Pete. I literally backed in with my elbows. But I did. I sanitised my hands when I got there. I sanitised them when I got in the car. And I sanitised the wheel and then drove home. Should probably have gone into self-isolation for a week. But I do carry that with me, but that's the only time that I use that. But like was said today in Slack, my hands are feeling it at the moment, so I think I need to put moisturiser on tonight. I'm not sure if it's the soap or if it's the fact that I'm scrubbing them with a nail brush. But do you know what? They're clean. And I sanitised my keyboard and my tech. So I did have a bottle. Apparently, Pete will know this. Apparently, they don't do this anymore. But I used to use isopropyl alcohol, 600 milligrams thereof. And that's just kicking around the office. And I put it on a cloth and I clean my keyboards. Apparently, the chemist said we don't sell that anymore. People were drinking it. I mean, seriously, it's 70% proof. It would strip paint. Why are you drinking it? But I can't buy it anymore, so I'm peeved. Gatherings larger than 100, how's it going to work at the polling place? That's not great. Our local elections, we have national elections, as you know, every 5 minutes, keep changing Prime Minister. Seem stuck with this one, though. We have local elections too, which are on a county-by-county basis. And they've been put back a year. So they were due to happen in May this year, and they've put them back an entire year. That is not good going to a school as well. Alcohol gel making it bad. Yeah, I'm going to have to put something on it, aren't I? Luckily, we do have a packet. Pete might come and raid the place for this. We've got a packet of surgical masks. In fact, I think we've got more than one. Now, before you think we've been stockpiling, we've had these in for years. We used... because of the bird flu. Mum got some because of the bird flu. But we also use them, well, I do, because I wield it. When I used to do woodwork for my mum, the sawdust would be flying all over the place. So I would put a mask on, and I've got a whole box of them in the garage. So lucky me, I might be able to use those. You see, Mum was right. You keep something for long enough and you find a use for it. She was quite right. Oh, touchscreen voting machines, for crying out loud, Paul. Have you got one of those rubber tip pen things you could use and then burn? This is ridiculous. Did you see that thing this week that said they'd done a test on McDonald's ordering machines, these screens that you order from? Now, Mike and I went in, and we're not exactly technologically challenged, are we? Could we place an order on one of these things? Now, you're wondering why we were eating at McDonald's. So was I. Where were we going? We literally had no food. We had no time to eat. And I said, well, just drive by McDonald's and we'll buy something. So we go in, and I said, well, how do you order?
Oh, it was the day after his funeral.
Oh, it was the day after Mike's dad's funeral, that's right. And we were
It was all over the place.
Yeah, well, we were heading off for prayers, weren't we? Which seemed to go on endlessly. So we literally we'll get some chicken or something. They do chicken. We pulled in. Neither of us had ordered since we were in uni. And it was like, what's this screen thing? No idea. Do you think it's advertised? No idea. And we realised it was an ordering machine. Neither of us could make it work. So after about 5 minutes of stabbing at it, I said, for God's sake, ask somebody to serve us. I said, just tell them we're too old for all this. But the thing today was they'd gone round and they'd checked these machines, and they couldn't find one, and apologies if you're eating, they couldn't find one that didn't have faecal matter on it, which somehow put me off the meal, to be honest. So, you know that it's too peoply outside mug? Yeah, that's where I am. So surgical masks don't protect you, just stop you spreading if you're infected. So if you're walking around in one, people are going to assume that you're infected then. Cloth gloves. Actually, Paul, I do have cloth gloves as well. And what I got them for, they're very thin. You might be able to get these. These might not have gone out of stock yet. They're incredibly thin cotton, and they're white. And they're used in photography for handling lenses and stuff. And I actually do have a drawer with about 8 pairs of those in. So that might be an idea if you could get hold of some of those, because with them being white, you'd see any dirt on them straight away, and you could either wash them or throw them away. Another good place that if I'm desperate, I'll get a pair of gloves is hair dye. In the UK, hair dye comes with a little pod, and in the pod there's a pair of gloves. They're very thin, and they're a lot smaller than they used to be, but they would be enough if need be. But I can't believe that they're having you go out and vote. That's absolutely ridiculous. 96% proof. I need some of this, Tracy. This is what I need. Yeah, just make it smell revolting or taste revolting. Do you know, I'll be on to meths next. Because all it is for cleaning my keyboard. Why can't I buy it? Oh, Pete, that sounds vile. Ugh. So you're all right if you've got it, wear one, but otherwise don't. It's so funny seeing the reporters in them, because they're in these industrial size ones as well, not just like a surgical mask. These things are like covering the nose and half the eyes, the whole thing. It's getting crazy. Oh, handbells in church, that's an idea, yeah. You need gloves with that, wouldn't you? Good idea. You just can't buy any. You know, you can't buy anything. Can you imagine what's going to happen when we finally get through this? Everywhere will be well overstocked of absolutely everything. Graham, I did not know that Green and Blacks did chocolate with butterscotch. Was it the dark chocolate, the really black, dark stuff? Because I like butterscotch, but I don't like dark chocolate like that. But I know a man who does. Anyway, everybody will be pleased to know if you remembered the Christmas show when I've opened my Christmas present tonight. Who can remember what Mike got for Christmas? There was a photo of it in the show. Well, suffice it to say, we said we'd do an unboxing video. He hasn't unboxed it yet, a bit like mine. We know what it is. Good night, Pete. We know what it is, but he hasn't actually unboxed it yet. But it could come in incredibly handy. It was what did it weigh? 2.5 kilos or 5 kilos? Something silly like 5 kilos of Toblerone. So we reckon we'll need a hammer and chisel to get into it, but if food goes on shortages, that should keep us going for at least, well, Toblerone, maybe 5 minutes, 10. But hopefully about a week, I would say. There's enough Toblerone, because you make yourself sick, wouldn't you? You would have to seriously make yourself sick with it. Oh, milk chocolate. Graham, I did not know about this. I'm going to have to go and research that.
Paul remembered it was Toblerone.
Yay, Paul remembered. Yeah, I might need that Toblerone, you're right. That is our emergency rations. We're putting it in a cabinet, glass cabinet, break in case of emergency. That's what we're going to do with it. But we still have it. Well, actually, it's Mike's present, isn't it? But he might want to borrow my Peopley mug. So I might be able to...
Toilet roll.
And my toilet roll. Yeah, my one and only toilet roll. And my hand gel. You're right. I could hold it to ransom for other food. It's going to be really terrible if, like me, you are celiac and you need gluten-free. Not much chance of getting a loaf anytime soon, I can tell you. But never mind. I like fresh vegetables. I've got salad. I've got fruit. So I'll be good. I'll be good. Let's say that. Anyway, what's everybody else having? Graham's had something that I now need to research. I did not know they did that. Now I do. Graham, you bad boy, for tempting me. But I will. I'll go and look at that. What's everybody else having? Or do you have no food? Green and Blacks is the one. I always thought their stuff was very, very potent black chocolate like Dad used to eat, which I could never eat in my heyday. But you never know. So what's everybody else had? Let us know before we go.
There you go.
Well, I didn't know that was milk chocolate. Oh, £30? How many's in the box?
15.
Oh, 15 in a box, Graham. 30 quid. That's not a bad deal if we can get hold of some.
83 quid.
Good God. What are you looking?
Box of 12.
A box of 12. Yeah, but is it 12 12s? Mike's found a box of 12 bars of chocolate for £84. I think these prices are going crazy.
I'm in heaven now.
Graham, you've made a monster. He's on the Green and Black site and I won't see him till Wednesday now. But you will hear us Monday night, 7 o'clock UK time. We're going live every night this week. Just to chat, share what's going on, see what's working remote, what's not working remote. There'll be chat. You can chat to us. In fact, we're going to have a quick test tomorrow and see if we can rig it up that if you want to ring in, you can talk to us. That would be cool. If we could get that working, that would be amazing. So we'll try that tomorrow and see how we go. And if it works, Graham, remember when we did that? Yeah, you'll probably never forget. I remember Graham saying, oh my God, this is not as easy as you make it look. A sentiment which Jonathan has since reiterated with the unboxings. Jonathan's fallen asleep. Don't wake Jonathan, he's had a busy week. He did have his candlelight supper, so obviously the washing up alone will have laid him out. So quietly while Jonathan sleeps. He'll catch up tomorrow. He usually catches up the day after. So hello, Jonathan, in the future. Right, well, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do some serious testing tomorrow. We'll be back live on the radio on Monday, every night in the week. Wednesday's going to be fun because Mike needs to be in 2 places at once, but more about that in the week. Yeah, we can do a phone-in, so if you've got questions, let's see how we go with that. Alternatively, if you can't make it or whatever, then what we could do is if you record your piece and send it in, then we could play it. So we'll attempt to see what Skype can do. If that doesn't work, we'll find another way. We'll have fun anyway, whatever we do. So I'm going to have some fruit. I've got a sneaking suspicion somebody's going to hit the white Toblerone. He's grinning. Don't know. He said he doesn't know, which means yes. But for tonight, thank you very much for your company. It's been an absolute ball. We will see you in Slack. So we'll bob in and see what's going on. But then we need some sleep. But then we'll be back tomorrow. So if you are bored, silly, because you are self-isolating, not tomorrow at 7, Kim, Monday at 7. Monday at 7. But we will celebrate with you, Kim, tomorrow on Slack. That it's your 14 days. Now, when it says 14 days, do you have to wait till the end? Or can we celebrate in the middle? We need to know these things. Love to Kiva. And love to everybody else. But for now, it's good night from me.
It's good night from me.
It's good night from Mike, and we'll both see you next time.